Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very, very special episode of DFS JAGS Fantasy Football Stream on the Nickel City Mafia YouTube page. Today, we have a very, very special episode. Usually, you see me, Riku Mukherjee, on the DDS of DFS for golf, but today we're going to be talking to Pigskin. I have a very special guest with me tonight, Chris Caldwell. How you doing?
What's up, man? Nice to see you.
You too, man. So, yeah, usually I'm here talking golf, but I just wanted to bring you on. Chris is one of my best friends from Maryland. We grew up together. We're diehard Ravens fans, and I know we're apologizing in advance right now because I know a lot of Buffalo fans are going to be watching the stream. But so if we're a little biased towards Ravens players, apologize. But before we get started, I just wanted to say if you like the content that you see here tonight, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Just reach out to us if you have any questions about fantasy football. We know our football. Chris a little bit more than me. I'm more of a golf guy, but if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me at Riku Mukherjee. Chris, where can they reach you on Twitter?
Yeah, so my name's Chris Caldwell, and on Twitter and Instagram, it's at C Caldwell, CALDWELL 45.
Awesome, cool. So, yeah, let's get into it. So football is starting in a few months, or not even a few months, in about a month and a half, and we're going to be doing our fantasy football drafts probably all throughout the month of August. So before we're gonna basically talk about breaking down each position. We're going to break it down into tiers, and then we're going to talk about who we like, who we don't like in these positions and stuff like that. But before we get into that, just Chris, like, what kind of leagues do you like playing in? Like, who do you like? Do you like a specific format or anything like that? What do you got? What do you usually play in?
Sure. So pretty much my whole life, I think I played the regular fantasy football, like the once a year, get some work friends together, get some school friends together. And that's kind of what I've been doing for, 15, 20 years now. I played with you back in middle and high school, Rick. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the mainstream thing to do. Still do those leagues, still very fun. Play for money, play for not money, whatever your flavor is. But lately, there's been a couple other types of football leagues that have been gaining popularity. There's dynasty football, which I took up as my COVID hobby to study
Okay.
dynasty football, and I started a league, and Rick is in that league, and I run three leagues of dynasty now. So I'm pretty heavy into that. So like to come on and talk that another time. But for today, we're going to talk only about season-long fantasy football. Season-long fantasy football, also, there's a couple different flavors of it. You can do just where you draft and then you make transactions throughout the year, and that's your typical league. Or there's best ball leagues where you kind of just do a whole bunch of drafts and then you can't touch your roster, and it'll automatically put in your best plays of the week once the game's over. Um, that is also fun, and it is better for the people that don't like the waiver wire and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely try both. They're in best balls are great ways to practice before your big fantasy football. If you have a couple $100 buy-in league that you want to practice for, just do a couple $1 best ball leagues and get a feel of who people like and who people don't like that year. I guarantee you'll do better.
Yeah, and the best thing about best ball is that you can literally like draft your team and then don't have to look at it again until like the end of the season to see how you did, because they just automatically play your best like score in each position, and then from there it's just they just calculate the best score in the league, and then whoever wins the league. But that's a little different than what we're going to be talking about tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about season long fantasy football that you just play with your friends, where you do like a snake draft or an auction draft or something like that. For the premises of this show, we're going to be talking about half PPR, which means half point per reception. We did get our rankings that we're going to be showing tonight as a consensus from Fantasy Pros. So basically, we're going to have those rankings up as a consensus on slides for you guys to see, and then we're going to basically talk about who we like, who we don't like from each tier, and then kind of break down each player. We'll talk more about the guys at the top because those are the more familiar names, but then we'll get into a little bit deeper, and then we'll talk about the sleepers, and then guys from down the board who you want to take like at the end of your draft, who you want to take as like a handcuff for a starting running back or something like that. So we're going to get into all of that tonight.
Cool. Let's get started.
All right, cool. So the first thing we're going to talk about is running backs. Tiers 1 and 2, as you can see up here. We're going to talk about tier 1 first. We have everyone from Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, all the way down to Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, and Austin Eckler in the top 12. So when you're drafting in a snake draft, the first question I'm going to ask you, Chris, is if you have the number 1 pick in the draft, are you taking Christian McCaffrey or are you taking someone else?
For this year, I would love to hear anyone's argument why you don't take CMC. I just don't see it. I mean, I think if you're taking anyone other than Christian McCaffrey, number 1, you're trying to be too cute. Just my personal opinion, the guy absolutely has dominated the last 2 years he's been on the field. And, there's not really much more to say about him. I mean, he's a elite receiver and elite on the ground. He's the goal line back. His offense is juiced up now. Now that they added Sam Darnold, that's weird to say, but
yeah,
we think he's better than Teddy Bridgewater, right? So
yeah, I think so.
So I think if you have the 101 and we're playing a 1 quarterback league, of course we're not talking about super flex leagues tonight, but if you're playing a 1 quarterback league and you have the 101, don't overthink it. Don't get cute. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I agree too. The guy just doesn't get off the field. He literally plays almost every snap during a game, and there's like no one really putting on pressure. Like obviously, we're not going to be counting like injuries and stuff here, but like when he's on the field, he's taking every snap almost. He's catching balls out of the backfield. He is getting touchdowns, goal line carries. He's pretty much the all be all for that team. So his floor is so high that like I just don't envision someone you taking someone else over him in the first slot. I mean, yes, you could go Cook, yes, you could potentially go Henry, but with those guys, I think their floor is a little bit lower than CMC. So I think for the first pick, you're gonna go CMC, and then after that, we can talk about the next guys, but I think with the first pick, go CMC, and then after that, we got Cook and Henry, Kamara. Like, what order do you guys have? What order do you have it for these guys?
So we have this separated by 12 at a time. The way I'm kind of viewing it is my head, and like I already said, CMC is the smash number 1 pick, and then the next 4 guys, so 2 through 5, kind of have in like my little tier 2. So having a top 5 pick this year, I think is a huge advantage because I think, first of all, I pretty much showed my cards. I'm going running back, top 5 pick. You can't talk me out of it. So 1 is CMC, 2 through 5 is Cook, Henry, Kamara, Barkley, not necessarily in that order. I honestly think pick your flavor. I'm not going to fault you for taking any one of those guys at 2, and I'm not going to be surprised if any one of those guys is available at 5.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am with it this year. I might be a little bit surprised if Dalvin falls to 5. But other than him, I think it's, fantasy football is also about who you like and who you like to watch. And when you have, a couple players in the same tier, pick who you want to watch on Sunday and pick who you like. So for me, it's those 4 next.
Yeah, and then as far as those guys go, like you always have a little bit of an injury risk with Dalvin Cook, but he was so lights out when he was on the field last year, and he's also basically their go-to guy in that offense. That they run through Cook, and he catches a lot of balls out of the backfield, and same with Kamara. But Kamara, I'm not too sure how he's going to be without Drew Brees this year. I mean, I think they're going to be rolling with Jameis at quarterback. I'm not really sure. Might be Taysom Hill, but if it's Taysom Hill, he does take away a lot of his, running, goal line carries. Like Hill's the one that gets those touchdowns on the goal line or something like that. And then obviously after that, Saquon also, got a little bit of injury risk, but he's such a stud that I can't imagine him falling out of the top 5. With Derrick Henry, he doesn't have. He obviously has those monster rushing games. Everybody sees him in December rush for like 200 yards in a game, but doesn't have the biggest. He catches like 1 ball a game at the most, so not the biggest catching upside out of the backfield. So I could see like what you're saying, like split those guys up however you want. behind that. But yeah, I think for the top five, you're going running back before you even think about taking a wide receiver, you even think about taking Travis Kelce or something like that as a tight end. But yeah, those are the top five guys. Then below that, we got.
So one more thing, Rick,
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
the yeah, I just had one more thing about Henry
Yeah,
is for me personally, he's my number five, especially playing half PPR or even he might even fall to 6 or 7 if we're playing full PPR.
yeah,
Derrick Henry's career high in catches is 19.
yeah,
And also remember that Arthur Smith is gone off
yeah,
the Titans. They have a completely new offensive coordinator. They lost Jonnu Smith, one of their tight ends, who's an extremely good blocker. I'm not saying Derrick Henry's God, and I know I'm going to regret this. I'm probably not going to own Derrick Henry in one single league unless I'm in like have pick 7 and he's fallen to me in a half PPR league, and then I kind of have to take him. But Derrick
yeah.
Henry is kind of a fade for me this year.
Yeah, okay. I could definitely see that. After we drop out of the top five there, we got Nick Chubb, Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, and Austin Eckler. Out of these guys, who you playing, who you fading?
Yeah, so out of this group, of the ones you just said, I have one major play and one major fade. I'm going to start with my play first. I friggin' love Aaron Jones this year, and I loved him before Rodgers was coming back. I love him even more now. So I think I'm taking Aaron Jones as high as number 6 this year. He is just the guy is so talented, and he's their also their wide receiver too. Um,
Yeah,
People forget like he's not really like a bruiser back. He's more like a Alvin Kamara, like get him out in the open, shifty type back. And they just lost Jamal Williams.
hmm,
So um, Aaron Jones, I think, is going to play more of that third down role that Jamal Williams would spell him for. He's going to see crazy volume, and he's going to be on that Aaron Rodgers revenge tour too.
yeah,
Um, I don't know his exact finishes the last couple. Oh, he was running back 2 years ago, and then I think he was running back 5 or 6 this past year. So anyway, being drafted at running back 9, I don't know why he's trying to be discounted because he's even been banged up a little bit the past 2 years and still has 2 great finishes. I think he has the ability to be running back 1.
yeah. I agree with that. I'm going to preface this and say we're recording this on July 28th, and as far as we know right now, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer this year. So I think that does influence people's decisions a little bit because if it was, I don't even know who the guy they drafted. I forgot his
Jordan
name, but
Love.
Jordan Love. Jordan Love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he's the quarterback, I mean, I think Jones and Adams they take a tick down a little bit if Rodgers is not playing. So right now, obviously NFL news changes like every single day. So at this moment, we're assuming Rodgers is in camp. He's going to be playing. He's probably going to be getting like a 1 year deal. He's probably not going to be a Packer next year. But yeah, for right now, I agree. Aaron Jones, stud, absolute stud. For me, I'm gonna. I know it sounds weird, but I'm just not a Zeke fan. Like I think that he he runs soft for me. Like he just runs like he runs for like 2 yards and gets up and says feed me, and I'm just like, what do you like? He doesn't run like the ferocious runner that I expect out of like the guy who I saw in college or something like that. And they have such an explosive pass offense with Dak coming back from injury that I mean I don't like taking Zeke in drafts, and I probably never have. I've probably been a little bit more unbiased towards that because I was kind of hoping he would be a Raven at some point, but he wasn't. But yeah, I'm gonna pass on Zeke, and I'll drop down to like Aaron Jones or like Jonathan Taylor, who's looking like a stud for the Colts. And I know you personally, I know you're a fan of Nick Chubb, but I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Chubb just because of how split their backfield is. What do you like about Nick Chubb?
So I think Nick Chubb might be the best pure runner besides Derrick Henry in the NFL. If you took everything out of the equation, the guy is just like a tackle breaking machine, and you know he doesn't necessarily have to rely on catching the ball. Um, he hasn't necessarily been that great at the goal line. He's squandered a lot of goal line chances the
Mhm.
past couple years, and the guy just still smashes. I mean, he is like the definition of the 30, 40 yard breakaway touchdown. That's just what he does. And he has a great offensive line. He has Kevin Stefanski, great run game mind, and I just think Baker Mayfield sucks. They have nothing to do but feed him, and I don't think he has running back 1, 2, or 3 ceiling, but I think he's pretty safe at running back 6. I don't have him as a buy or a fade. I'd like him right where he's at.
And you don't think like the split backfield with Hunt, like that doesn't scare you a bit or at all? I mean, it's kind of been like that for like what, 2 seasons now, maybe one
It
season.
they've coexisted for 2 seasons, and
Yeah,
it hasn't been a problem. I mean, I think last year, Chubb missed some time, but Kareem Hunt was running back 10 last year in PPR.
yeah,
I mean, I think they do just fine together. I mean, Stefanski runs the ball like crazy, so they're
yeah.
both going to get theirs. And Hunt's more of a, third down back and like, put him in the slot, on third and short or something like that, and put
Mhm.
Chubb in the backfield. So, no, I'm not too worried
What?
about it.
Okay. What about these lower guys here? So for me,
Well, real quick,
I've been. Yeah,
sorry,
go
before
ahead.
you move on, you said Zeke was your fade, and I'm glad you
Yeah,
said that. He's my fade too.
yeah.
Um,
I can't take the guy. I just think he's not a good running back.
if he was on any other team but Dallas, I don't think we would like him at all, unless he was on a team like the Rams or the Cardinals or something like that, like a high-powered offense. Because, like, number one, he has reduced rushing yards per game in 4 straight years. Like, the
Hmm.
guy is like, he was a workhorse in college. They've been feeding him the ball for, I think this is his 5th year, maybe
Yeah,
sixth.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Fifth year, fifth year.
5th year. Okay.
Yeah.
So the guy has, miles beyond miles. He needs an oil change bad. Like this guy has just been ran into the ground and it shows. I mean, watch last year. He's not impressive. Like when he had a 7 or 8 yard run, you're pretty proud of it. And, I know they're probably going to be the highest scoring offense in the league. They run the fastest offense in the league with, I forget their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. But
Kellen Moore. Yeah, yeah,
Kellen Moore, yeah.
yeah.
Um, I'm just they have 3 great receivers, and Tony Pollard is easily the best pure backup running back in the NFL. He, was a college, half running back, half wide receiver. He's a great third down back. And I just between feeding their 3 wide receivers, which they have 2 good tight ends and Tony Pollard. I think he has a fine floor because of how many points they're going to score. I just don't think you're going to be impressed with. He, he doesn't have an upside to me.
Yeah, and I don't want to give out too many hot takes too early in the show, but I'm not even sure if Zeke's the best running back on their team. So I think Tony Pollard might be a little bit better. So, but that's just me. But they gave him a big contract. He's gonna demand the ball, so he's gonna start and he's gonna get the ball. But it is what it is. Dropping down to the end of tier one here, like these are the guys that you're gonna be taking towards like late first round, early second round, kind of draft picks. We got Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler to round out tier one. For me, I've made every excuse in the book for the last 3 years for Joe Mixon. I think we're going to talk about it later in the show when it comes to the wide receivers, but I think they're going to be the Bengals are going to be so pass heavy this year that I can't get there with Mixon. I would take Eckler 10 out of 10 times over Mixon personally.
That's not a question. Yeah, if you're half PPR or PPR format, that
Yeah.
please don't even think about it. Eckler 100% of the time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and Antonio Gibson, I mean, he looked pretty solid last year. I'm not really sure where the Redskins offense is going to go with Fitzpatrick under center. But I could see him being a fringe RB1, RB2 possibly.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I don't I don't know exactly where he finished last year. I know he had like 11 touchdowns, and he didn't get a ton of receiving work because J.D. McKissick for some reason had like 100 targets last year. But
Yeah.
I I kind of like Gibson this year because their quarterback situation could only improve. I don't think J.D. McKissick's getting 100 targets. Antonio Gibson was a wide receiver in college, so I think he had what 36 or 38 career carries before he got
Yeah.
drafted in the NFL. The guy's just learning how to play running back. He's like 6 foot, 225 pounds. He's a mammoth who has outstanding hands out of the backfield. I mean, I think Eckler and Gibson. I think they could easily. I'd have to consider taking both of them over Zeke this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could
I
definitely see
think,
that.
put it this way, the floor might not be as safe for Gibson, but the upside is way higher than Zeke, in my opinion. And that's tough to say because Redskins versus Cowboys offense, but I'm taking the talent, the ascending talent with Gibson here.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, I'm not really sure where Dallas's offensive line is nowadays. I think they used to be the best offensive line in the league, and I think they've just deteriorated a lot. So I think that really hurt Zeke's also floor. But not saying that Washington has a great offensive line either, but I think they're pretty similar in that aspect.
Yeah,
All right.
agreed.
So yeah, go ahead. You have anything else to
Yeah,
add in tier one?
yeah, I'm kind of with you on Mixon. I tried to be a Mixon stan for like a year and a half. Had
Yeah.
him in every dynasty league I was in, and now I have 0 shares of him. I'm off.
Yeah, there's going to be always somebody that sees him around like, around like pick 15 or pick 14 where he like drops a little bit and be like, they don't like the guys below him. They can't get one of the stud running backs above him, and they just have no other option but to take him. But I would definitely rather go like if my choices are Mixon or like I don't know some one of the better wide receivers, I'd probably go wide receiver in round one.
Mhm. So before we move off tier one, yeah,
Yeah.
we have to say rest in peace, Cam Akers, because
Yeah, he
I
was
think
he was in tier one.
yeah, I think he would have been like 10 or 11. You probably start talking about Cam Akers when you're talking about Aaron Jones ish.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, he tore his Achilles a few weeks ago and gave a big boost. We'll talk about Darrell Henderson in the next tier, but yeah, he had a pretty decent rookie campaign. But we hope to see him back next year. I hope he heals up good. But he was turning into a stud. If you have him in Dynasty, obviously just don't drop him. Just leave him on your bench for a year. But he'll come back with a vengeance next year.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to look at Marlon Mack this year and
Mm.
see how he comes back from that Achilles tear, and they're going to judge Akers,
Yeah,
unfairly
we
on
we
how.
didn't we didn't talk that much about Jonathan Taylor. Are you afraid of Marlon Mack eating into his carries at
Yep.
all a little bit?
Uh, you're reading my mind, dude. I love Jonathan Taylor as a talent. Um, he's right up there with Nick Chubb as in terms of just pure runner. The guy has like sub 4.4 speed, and he's huge.
Yeah.
So, and the Colts have, a top three offensive line, hands down
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
NFL. Um, he's just going to lose work to Naheem Hines on third down, and they proved that last year.
Yeah.
I looked. Jonathan Taylor had 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games of last year, and he had 1 catch.
Hmm.
And Naheem Hines had 10 over that span, 10 catches. So I think they've proved that, you know, Jonathan Taylor, they don't trust him on third down or at least in the passing game. So, um, and then Mac coming back, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, as sad as it sounds, that Frank Reich just seems like a coach that would say Marlon Mack's the veteran and he has the job. I mean,
Yeah.
the talent wise, that doesn't match, but I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me ask you a simple question. So, say you have the sixth pick in the draft, and the top four running backs are off the board: McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, and Kamara, and then somebody takes Kelsey at 5. Who are you taking at 6 as running back?
Saquon, easy. Yeah,
Saquon. Okay.
those next 4 quarter. Yeah, if you ask me if Kelsey was the sixth pick and I had the next pick in the draft and Saquon
Yeah.
was 2, um,
Probably Aaron Jones.
it's either Chubb or Aaron Jones, depending on my mood that day. It's between
Okay.
that. It's between them. Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's drop down to tier 2 here. In the red column, we got Najee Harris, rookie out of Alabama for the Steelers. He's obviously going to be somebody that I'm going to hate for the next 5 years. Me being a Ravens fan, we absolutely despise any Steeler. So I'm not going to draft him. Just kidding. I'll draft him in fantasy drafts. But and then we right after him, we got our boy J.K. Dobbins for the Ravens. And then we're dropping all the way down. We got the likes of David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, all the way down to Mike Davis for the Falcons. So yeah, let's start here at the top. We got Najee Harris, a rookie coming in, J.K. Dobbins on his sophomore campaign, Clyde Edwards-Helaire on his sophomore campaign. Who you like out of these top 3-4 guys?
I hate to say it, man, but Najee Harris is, if I had to, out of the top out of the top 4 or 5 guys, I'm taking him. I know he's the
Yeah,
highest ranked, so it's chalk, but he's going to get 300 touches this year. He is literally a running back that was like born and bred to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I mean,
Yeah.
he's they love 3-down backs. He can catch. He's an outstanding receiving back, and he's a great goal line back. I mean, to me, Najee Harris is Dalvin Cook. I see no difference. They're kind of the same player in my mind. So yeah, I'm gonna hate to play him twice a year for the next 5 years.
Do you see Najee Harris having a reception floor like Dalvin Cook out
I
of the
think
backfield?
maybe even higher.
Maybe even higher. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at he's especially his last year or two at Alabama, I think they made it a point probably for his draft stock to feed him
Yeah,
some
because I mean I
receptions.
watched a lot of Alabama games. I don't really remember him catching the ball that much.
It
That
it
much out of the
wasn't
backfield.
it wasn't until recently. I think this
Mhm.
past year he had like 30 receptions, which is a lot in the college
Yeah.
season. But dude, he's made some acrobatic catches too. He's not just like a catch it and turn around and get tackled guy. Like he can run wheels and make some nice catches.
Yeah.
But speaking of running wheels and making nice catches, have you seen a couple plays that J.K. Dobbins is making? They're like trying to get him the ball out of the backfield.
I mean, he's our boy this year. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, there is going to be the fear always of Lamar stealing touches and Lamar stealing rushing upside and stuff like that. But I mean, we have when I say we guys, I'm talking about the Ravens because whenever I say we, it's my team. But we have such a powerful like rushing attack that I feel like Lamar, J.K., even Gus Edwards, who's J.K.'s backup this year, like they all get so many touches and so many ample opportunities that yes, J.K. Dobbins could literally be an RB1, even though he's here in tier two. He could, easily be someone that's a RB6, RB7, just because of the volume that the Ravens run the ball. So that's
Yeah. My thought on him is like number one, they don't really give Lamar a lot of carries inside the five. He doesn't really play like the Josh Allen, like, let me do a QB dive from 3 yards out. I mean, he just doesn't. So he gets a
yeah.
lot of yards, and he might score long touchdown runs, but they don't really bang him around inside the five. And I think if anyone in that backfield were to give up touches, it's Gus. I mean, JK had what, 6 yards per carry last year. He had a
Mhm.
great breakaway rate. I mean, the guy had tons of 20-yard runs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And,
like
and with
Gus.
Mark Ingram out of town now, I mean, I think it's pretty much J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. I mean, Justice Hill might get a couple third down like catches and stuff like that, but I think they're gonna when they get down to the 5 yard lines, I think they're gonna try to make an effort to feed. I mean, obviously, like body physique wise, I think Gus Edwards is probably a better goal line back. But I think they're going to try to make it a point of effort here, like at least in the beginning of the season, that when they get inside the five or at the goal line, that they're going to leave Dobbins on the field and try to give him the ball.
Dude, do you remember last year? I think it might have been week one or maybe week two that Dobbins they got down inside like the three twice and they gave it to Dobbins both times. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it was like
instead of Ingram, yeah.
no Ingram, no Gus. I think he's not really like slight of stature. I don't know his exact build, but like he's got some beef to him and he's like
Kind
slippery,
of
right?
reminds me, kind of reminds me of a little Ray Rice. I mean,
Hmm.
a former Ravens back a little bit,
Who
but
was a
I
good
think
goal line back. Yeah.
it was a good goal line back. Yeah, I think he's a little bit more explosive than Ray Rice. I
Mhm.
think he can break off some. We saw it last year, break off
But
some
he's just not
15.
the receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just not. Yeah, he's just not the receiver. Dropping down a little bit more, these next guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chris Carson, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders. Who do you think is the best play out of here? I know who I think is the best play out of these guys, but who do you think?
All right. I'll pick two and I'll go quick. I'm going Clyde just because of the offense and the fact that he has no touch competition. I mean, they have Darrell Edwards as his backup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um,
Le'Veon Bell's out of town, right?
Le'Veon Bell's gone. They have Darrell
Okay.
Edwards and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like pretty much their wide receiver three. I mean, they,
Okay.
they should get him the ball more out of the backfield. Mahomes has to work on that. I mean, they just don't throw the ball to the running back enough. And then my play here, if I were to have anyone from this tier besides Najee to make a run at top five, and I'm pulling one out of a hat here, DeAndre Swift. He's probably on a bottom three offense in the NFL, but just think about the points that this guy is going to score every fourth quarter. So he is an absolutely elite receiving back. I mean, top 3 to 5 in the NFL, and it's not arguable. Um, and the Lions are going to be god awful, and Jared Goff about pisses his pants anytime he has to throw the ball downfield. So all I can picture is like you're frustrated by DeAndre Swift because he has 8 carries for 50 yards and 1 catch at halftime, and then he ends up with like 11 catches for 90 yards. I can see the future. I see this happening. I think in like a PPR format, DeAndre Swift's floor from like receiving alone on that bad team, as long as they just let him develop and let him play, it's just going to be so high. And if he can somehow just eke out like 8 touchdowns, he's going to be top 7, 8 running back.
Yeah, I'm out on Swift. I just being a Detroit Lions running back has never been good. Like legit has never been
Never.
good. I need to see it for a season. If he has a good season, then I'll consider him next year. But with that terrible offense, I do agree they are going to be behind in every game. So he's gonna get a lot of garbage time touchdowns and catches and rushes and stuff like that. But I just can't get there. I'd honestly rather go David Montgomery. Like I know he's also another scary guy to go to because of the history of Chicago running backs and stuff like that. But right now, Tariq Cohen's hurt. He's pretty much the only guy. Is Tariq Cohen still on the? He's still on the Bears, right?
Yeah, he's recovering from ACL tear,
Okay.
but yeah.
But yeah, he's like the main guy there, and I honestly think that the Bears' offense is going to be better this year with Justin Fields at quarterback. I know he's a rookie; he's going to take time to develop and stuff like that. But I think he's going to bring such an explosive guy under center there that they just haven't had with Mitch Trubisky and all the garbage quarterbacks that they've had in the past. That it's going to really open up the run game for David Montgomery. It's going to open up the pass game for Allen Robinson. We'll talk about him later, but yeah, I think between those two, I'm going Montgomery. I'm fading Swift, and then I don't really have a take on Chris Carson. He's just a whatever guy for me, but
I think he's appropriately priced. I'm taking David Montgomery and Swift over Carson all day.
yeah.
So I would move him down a couple spots. Um, but yeah, Chris Carson's kind of just a guy. He seems to get hurt every year on a good offense, but I think it's time for Russ to, go for it
To
this
cook,
year.
to cook, as he says.
Yeah, to cook. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like David Montgomery too. I mean, the coach keeps talking about how he thinks he can handle a full workload, and he wants to get him 20 carries every game. So
Yeah.
I like to listen to what coaches say because I don't think they're necessarily trying to lie. I think they tell the truth more often than they lie.
Yeah, but I mean, what's his name? Charles Nagy, is that his name?
Yeah.
He's not. He doesn't seem like the sharpest tool in
You're
the
right.
shed.
He's a goober. He's a goober.
Yeah. Dropping down to the end of this tier, we got Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs going all the way down to Mike Davis. Daryl Henderson obviously has been bumped up into this range because of the Cam Akers injury, like we talked about earlier. I'm Miles Gaskin. I don't know. I don't really know the Miami running back situation. And then Kareem Hunt, like we talked about earlier, splitting time with Nick Chubb, but he's still a still fringe RB1, RB2, even with the split time.
Yeah, I'm taking Hunt over Gaskin and Henderson very comfortably.
Okay.
It's not even a decision for me. Daryl Henderson's a full fade for me at this ADP.
Okay.
Um, the guy's 5'8", 195 pounds. He had a chance to be the starting running back last year, and Cam Akers pried it from him. Cam Akers was considered probably like one of the most raw running back talents in the draft last year. He was a great athlete, but needed to learn the position and become seasoned, and he just took it right from Daryl Henderson. Um, I just don't think the offseason's not over. They could easily sign Todd
Yeah.
Gurley or some other Jag running back that they could trade for.
Hey, nice
or,
shout out to the show, Jags.
Yeah.
But
Jag,
for anyone that doesn't know what
just
I
a
mean,
guy.
it's just a guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't really know that the story's over in the Rams backfield. I'm like I feel
I think they're going to sign a veteran at some point.
if you draft Henderson at 21, that means you think number one, they're not signing anyone, and number two, he's going to hold off anyone else from the job. So
Yeah.
I just don't think he's a 3-down guy to begin with. I don't know. Sure. I mean, if he's still there around running back 24, 25, maybe give it a shot, but not where he's drafted now.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit too high for him. I'm pretty big and pretty bullish on Mike Davis this year. I'm going to be trying to take a lot of Mike Davis this year. I know he's not the youngest guy on the board, but there's literally no one else in Atlanta. Like I know Atlanta's going to be a high powered offense, like throwing wise, they got some good weapons throwing wise, but there is no one competing for that job. And last year when CMC got hurt, I had Mike Davis as a handcuff in Dynasty in any league, and he was killing it for a substantial amount of time for the Panthers. And I I get that they lost Todd Gurley, the Falcons lost Todd Gurley. He's no good anymore, and they just hired just seems like just another guy, another back. But I think I think volume is key in fantasy football, and I think he's gonna get a lot of volume this year. So I'm gonna be taking a lot of stabs at Mike Davis this year for sure.
Yeah, I can't argue with you too much. I mean, Arthur Smith from the Titans, was it Arthur Smith? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he went to Atlanta.
yeah.
I'm so confused because he's such a run-oriented coach, and
Mhm.
they have Mike Davis and
Well,
Quadri
it's
Olison.
easy. It's easy to be a run-oriented coach when you have Derrick Henry, but this is a different
Sure.
story.
I just something's not adding up. I think Davis is going to be a little bit overdrafted because I think he bailed a lot of people out and won some people some money last year.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I'm,
me.
I'm
I'll take the
yeah,
trap.
yeah. I'm not fading him, but I'm not seeking to draft him. But I think I am fading Gaskin for the same
Yeah,
reason I'm fading Henderson. Gaskin's not good at football. He is a fine PPR back. He was productive in college. He's just not big. He's not fast. He's not shifty. He's just a good. He has good hands, and
and we don't really even know what the running back kind of rotation is going to be in Miami. Obviously, he's running back one, but like they have other guys like right behind him that could easily steal carries from him.
yeah, they have the guy that he showed all right last year, like Salvin Ahmed, and
Yeah,
they
don't they?
drafted. They
Don't they still
drafted.
have Matt
Is
Breida?
he's worthless.
Oh, he's worthless. Okay,
I don't even know if he's on their team to be honest. But they
okay,
drafted they drafted a guy named Jared Dokes this year in the fourth
okay.
round. Who's like a big bruising back that I think if he shows well, I think Gaskin's just going to be little scat back guy. And the fact that he's ranked over Kareem Hunt is just blasphemy at that point because like Kareem Hunt is like
Yeah, I agree.
the like best third down back you can dream of, right?
Mhm.
So anyway.
Any takes on Miles Sanders or Josh Jacobs? Josh Jacobs he's gonna be splitting time now with Kenny and Drake, right? That's who they got to back
Yeah,
him up, I think.
I think that's in his price. So yeah, Kenyon Drake is his backup, but Gruden
Okay.
seems to love Drake. But I think Drake being added is in Jacob's price right here because
Okay.
I think without Drake, Jacobs is priced up like 15, 14 ish.
I
So
mean, he last year he was taken as an RB1, like first round or like
yeah,
late first round, early
yeah,
second round. Yeah.
he was fringe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. Doesn't I think Drake's going to take most of his receiving work, which he didn't have much anyway. Um, So I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
meh about both of those.
Yeah, and then Miles Sanders. I mean, I think he's kind of in the same boat as J.K. Dobbins. I think with a running quarterback like that, you get a lot of with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I think they're going to take a lot of carries away from him, and he was prone to injury last year. I was pretty high on him last year. I overdrafted on Miles Sanders last year in a lot of drafts and paid the price. He was hurt for a lot of the year, but he's just the guy. I'd rather take Mike Davis over him, but I mean I can see him if he falls in the 20s at some point. If you want to take a stab at him, go for it.
Yeah, I think Miles has big bust appeal right here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mhm.
we've beat this to death. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Let's drop down to the last tier of running backs here, and then we can talk about some sleepers. We got who we got here. We got RB25 at Damian Harris to brand new toy of Travis Etienne for the Jags, all the way down to Zach Moss, James Conner, Leonard Fournette, all these guys. So the top half of this range, I, I
Hey
mean,
Rick, if you'll let
yeah.
me, I kind of have a cool theme for this tier. If
All
you'll
right,
if you'll let me be creative
go
here.
for it. Go ahead,
Cool.
go
So
for
I
it.
just want to talk about just one guy I love in this range, and then I have a really cool theme for the rest of it.
All right, go
Um,
for it.
Absolutely love Damian Harris. This guy, he is like I just think he's super talented, and the whole everyone talks about New England just cycles running backs through. I think that was Tom Brady like doing. I
Hmm.
think they're ready to have a guy or two guys, right? We've been so used to them having four running backs, and you don't know who to start on a weekly basis and whatnot. Um, I think that was a little bit of, Tom Brady trusts who he trusts, and I think that's over with. Damian Harris went to Alabama. He was a third round pick. He was on Alabama for 2 years in a row with Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs. He outcarried and outproduced in yards Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris 2 years in a row. Damian Harris is a good football player, and Nick Saban trusts Damian Harris. There is no way that he is not the running back one and absolutely crushes it this year. I'm not saying he's going to be top 10 guy. I'm saying drafted at running back 25, there's value there. I mean,
Okay.
I I just I don't know. Sony Michel absolutely stinks. Rex Burkhead is gone. James White is still there, but he's like 34. I just, they drafted Ramondre Stevenson. I think they're going to redshirt him just like they did Damian Harris 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I just think it's his backfield this year. I think I'm going to ride the narrative of New England running backs suck, and I'm going to take it.
Okay, well, we got Damian Harris truther here. I'm not as bullish on him. I don't know, like it's New England's offense just looks so bad. I mean, under Cam Newton, like I don't know if they get a spark, if let's say for example the Patriots start off like 0-4 under Cam Newton, and then they bench Cam Newton and they start Mac Jones. Um, does that bring if that brings a spark to the offense? Does that bump up Damian Harris's value a little bit? Yeah, I probably could see that. But yeah, I mean, at this price, RB25, that's pretty good value, I guess. I mean, he is the only guy there. I agree with that. What was your theme for the rest of these guys?
Yeah, so I was looking through this the other day, and it just so happens that this tier, it's players on the same team. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
I was
we have
I saw that too.
we have ETN and Robinson, Javante and Gordon, Rojo and Fournette, and Edmonds and Connor. So I just think let's run through real quick and give like our 15-second opinion on who's the back to own at the ADP and why. So I'm interested to hear your takes.
I can't stand Melvin Gordon. I think Javante Williams is going to be the RB1. He's my guy that I'm going to take over Melvin Gordon, and I can never get the Tampa Bay backs right. Yeah, I know you love Ronald Jones. I love Leonard Fournette last year. I just will probably avoid them. I can't think of them. Who what do you what, I know you like Ronald Jones, but what's your take on the Arizona situation?
Yeah, so I'll recap what you did. So my theme that I usually stick to when it's a split backfield that hasn't really been
Established.
established yet, I just typically go for the cheaper guy.
Okay.
So if I'm not positive that Javante Williams is the starter, which by all respects, he's probably not going to start the year as a starter. He's probably going to have like that Dobbins role, right? Where he like works it in and then, gets more at the end of the year.
Hmm.
But like he's going in some cases, I'm talking about best ball drafts right now because I've done a lot of them. He's going like 3, 4, 5 rounds. I mean, Melvin Gordon's going like 3, 4, 5 rounds after Javante Williams. Like I can't justify taking Javante Williams when I can get Melvin Gordon at a 4 round discount.
People know how garbage Melvin Gordon is. He's terrible.
Yeah, he's pretty washed. I think he's like
Yeah.
28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
um, but anyway,
But you're right. He is going to start the year as an RB1 because I mean he
yeah.
has a big contract. They're paying him money, so I can't see him not being the starter in week one. But I think by week 3 or 4, maybe even week 5, something like that, Williams is going to be the featured back in that offense.
Yeah, the only I think he's definitely more talented and has more, burst at this point. The only thing I will say, I don't 100% judge me on this. I think Javante Williams is 20 years old. So I think he's like one of those ultra young running backs, and that might weigh into this a little bit. So
Okay,
he's
yeah, I didn't know
so
that.
yeah, so like Najee Harris is 23 and a half and Javante Williams is 20. So it kind of might work into, their roles a little bit just because like, you're not a fully grown man at 20 yet. You don't really have like the muscle build or the stamina that like
Yeah.
someone in their like 24, 25-year-old prime has yet. But anyway, about the Tampa Bay backfield, pretty gross. The only thing that is making me draft either of these guys is if they just fall like, much deeper than their ADP.
Yeah. And
It's
then
hard to,
and then on top of that, they added Bernard, who you'll see in their RB sleeper section, but that's just another body that they have back there now.
yeah. So I'm pretty much avoiding Tampa Bay backfield unless I'm getting a huge value. But
Yeah.
if I had to pick one, gun to my head, I'm probably picking Ronald Jones. He's just a better runner at this point. He just offers zero in the receiving game, which is scary.
Yeah. What do you think about Jacksonville and Arizona? What are your takes on those two backfields?
Well, just mini rant. Jacksonville is probably the dumbest freaking franchise because I don't understand how you come across James Robinson, like the
He was an
best.
RB. He was an RB1 last year.
I don't understand how you luck into James Robinson as basically a free, 4-year RB, a productive running back. You hit a needle in a haystack, and then you're gonna draft a running back in the
Yeah.
first round.
Yeah.
And this is I like Travis Etienne a lot. I think he's Alvin Kamara clone. I think he's gonna be
I mean,
great.
you have to think that they drafted him just to make Trevor Lawrence happy, right?
Uh,
Like, I mean,
I
that
mean,
that has to be it, right?
there's no way it has nothing to do with that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just crazy to me. I understand you have a new franchise quarterback and he played with ETN for 3 or 4 years at Clemson, but come on, man. I mean, like, draft another position to help your quarterback. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
just, I mean, I know running back helps him too, but you have James Robinson who showed just fine, and it just doesn't make any sense. So it's just so frustrating. And I'm praying that James Robinson gets traded, and that the Jags just go all in on ETN because they just drafted him. Why not?
Yeah.
That they trade him to like the Rams for like, a second round pick or something like that. I don't know.
Something mutually beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, like get a player in a second round pick from another team or like Atlanta. I don't know. Let James Robinson like go play a full like set of downs. He's a good running back. But
Yeah.
anyway, that it's kind of a, I hate to say it, but I'm drafting Robinson more than ETN just because of the ADP difference. I mean, they're like 2 or 3 rounds different.
Yeah. And then I don't have a take on the Arizona situation. I probably like Connor more than Edmonds. I just feel like it's going to be a split backfield situation, just like it was last year with Drake and Edmonds. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Connor's less talented than Drake, but Edmonds isn't. He isn't the guy, right? So he's like James White-ish, right? He's like that
Yeah.
third down, like really good receiver that'll, he'll make some runs out of shotgun, but he's not going to line up an I form and run the ball for you.
Right.
And I saw this stat: Arizona runs the crap out of the ball inside the 5 yard line, and James Conner like could luck in, fall in the end zone 11 times this year. So
But Kyler likes running it inside the 5 too. Like he
yeah,
likes QB
yeah,
bootleg and running it to the pylon.
yeah. So I mean, you saw Drake last year. I mean, he's not, super talented guy. I think he had 11 or 12 rushing touchdowns. So if Drake can do it, Connor can do it too.
Yeah, I guess. Couple guys we didn't talk about this in this range: Mostert, David Johnson, Zach Moss. I don't really have a take on. I mean, Mostert I like. I know the 49ers are going to run the ball a lot, and I just don't know what their running back situation is per se. Like Mostert's probably going to be the RB1. He's really fast and stuff like that, but I mean, then they have moments where Jeff Wilson Jr. comes in and steals like goal line touches, and then I don't know who their other guy is, but yeah, I could see you taking a stab on Mostert here. I have no clue what to do with David Johnson. I have no clue what to do with Zach Moss. These are just guys for me.
Yeah. Mostert's full fade for me. Sam Fran, I'm just going to try to get the cheapest one and just put him
Yeah,
on my bench and hope. You never know what Shanahan's going to do, and I'm not going to spend that high of a pick on like a 29-year-old journeyman running back who can't stay healthy. It's like he's not going to be on any of my teams.
okay,
David Johnson, the same. I don't even think he's a running back one in Houston. Um, I'll just get right into the sleepers.
yeah,
I'll do a spoiler. Philip Lindsay is going to be the running back one in Houston,
okay,
in my opinion. And Zach Moss, I have him as a huge buy. Buffalo's offense is elite, and Devin Singletary is just not that good.
okay,
They gave him his whole rookie year to show out. He didn't. Zach Moss was hurt almost all year last year. Devin Singletary did nothing. Zach Moss is a really shifty running back, and he has good size. He was a good receiver in college. And I just think it's not Singletary, and there's no one else on the roster. I thought they could maybe draft ETN. They didn't. So I'm going all in Zach Moss as like if I can get him as my running back 3, I'm doing it every time.
Yeah, and I also think along those lines, I think this year Josh Allen's going to be a little bit more cautious about running the ball. I mean, obviously we've seen people like Joe Burrow get hurt and stuff like that, just like trying to run the ball. I think that gives Zach Moss a little bit of an uptick there.
Yeah.
But then again, Josh Allen loves to just, I don't know, just tuck the ball and just take off sometimes. So I know you Bills fans don't like to hear that, and I hope he doesn't get hurt because he's absolutely a stud. But he needs to take it easy sometimes and not try to be like Lamar Jackson and run the ball and think he can juke every defender out there. But it is what it is.
He's like he reminds me so much of like a young Big Ben. Like he has that big bruising
Yeah.
body, and he'll take shots and not care. And honestly, I'm not too worried about. I'm more worried about Lamar getting a knee taken out than Allen. I mean, Allen has about 30, 40 pounds on Lamar.
Yeah. So do we, quick question. I'm not even 100% sure up to the latest news, but like where are we at with Deshaun right now as far as the Houston offense goes? Is he going to be suspended? Like what's the situation?
It's not even worth thinking about really.
Yeah.
He was at training camp today.
Okay.
And he threw a little bit and then stepped off to the side. So
Yeah, so
anyone
his status obviously affects a lot of these guys like David Johnson and Philip Lindsay and Brandon Cooks, who we're going to talk about later. But who, if he's not playing, who's their quarterback? I don't even know. Who's their backup?
Tyrod Taylor or
Tyrod Taylor.
Davis Mills. Yeah.
Yeah. So garbage, basically. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, I mean, who knows what the situation with Deshaun is? I mean, if he is suspended, maybe he's suspended 4 or 6 games. Who knows? We don't really know.
I just don't think Deshaun's going to play for Houston if he plays this year.
Yeah, true that. So for sleepers, we got Gus Edwards. Obviously, we talked about him before being the handcuff for J.K. Dobbins, Tony Pollard, handcuff for Zeke, Philip Lindsay, who Chris thinks is going to be the RB1 in Houston, Giovanni Bernard. I threw him in there just because I think he's going to Tom Brady loves his pass-catching running backs, and he's basically like James White, who he had in New England. Darrington Evans, great handcuff just in case Derrick Henry goes down. Tennessee still has a pretty explosive offense. And then Ty Johnson, I think he's going to be RB1 on the Jets. I'm not really sure. What's the Jets backfield situation?
Yeah, Jets backfield is pretty interesting, and definitely I think a lot of ADPs are going to change with the Jets backfield as we go through camp. So they drafted Michael Carter. He was Javonte Williams' teammate at UNC. Drafted him, I think it was a 4th-round pick, which was a decent slide for him in the draft. But Michael Carter is a smaller back. I don't even think he's 200 pounds. So they have Tevin Coleman, who came with 49ers coach. Tevin Coleman sucks. He hasn't been relevant in years. And then they have LaMichael Pirine and Ty Johnson. So I'm assuming the new coach for the Jets is going to run an offense similar to the 49ers. It literally fits Ty Johnson's skill set perfectly.
And he did show some flashes last year.
When he and he did his rookie year too. He had a decent game or two with the Lions, and then they gave up on him. He must have like a personality issue. I don't know when a rookie like high talent running back like this switches teams 3 times in 3 years.
Yeah,
it's alarming. But it means there's something wrong, but there's also something really good. So at running back 79, which is literally he's not getting drafted.
Yeah, he's basically free at the end of the draft.
He's absolutely free, and I'm taking a crack on Ty Johnson or even LaMichael Pirine with my last pick, preferably Ty Johnson. He's a great athlete. He would fit perfectly in like a stretch zone run scheme, and why the hell not? I mean, Michael Carter is probably going to be eased in, and they have to have a running back 1. I think Tevin Coleman's going to be like their honorary starter week 1, but he's just dust at this point. And
And like we talked about with the Lions, you got to assume the Jets are going to be behind in games a lot this year. So garbage time in the 4th quarter, I could definitely see them trying to throw the ball to he can get like 5-6 catches in 1 quarter easily, just dumping it down to the running back. So yeah, I could definitely take a flyer on Ty Johnson.
Yeah, just so Darrington Evans, he was hurt all of last year. He was a rookie, and so Derrick Henry just shouldered the whole load pretty much, and they had a couple other random guys who I never heard of. But he was a 3rd-round pick, and he's an outstanding athlete, and he has blazing speed. He came out of Appalachian State, I think. And I just don't want people to lose track of him. New coach in town, might not be doing the same two tight ends, let's run Henry down your throat every play. Darrington Evans might have some standalone appeal. I mean, he's a home run hitter, and if Henry were to go, I hate to say like if someone would go down, but I think he's a legit player. So
Okay. All right. So we have talked a lot about running backs here.
we did our
Let's
whole
yeah,
we did our
yeah.
whole showtime just on
Yeah,
running.
yeah. So let's get through these receivers real quick. So we're gonna drop down to the wide receivers now, our favorite players because they love to demand balls, they love to be divas and stuff like that. So, yeah. Then here we got wide receivers tier one. We got or wide receiver one. We have Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, all the way down to Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen. Top of the board here. I think for me, if Aaron Rodgers is playing in Green Bay, I'm going to put Devontae Adams at wide receiver one. That's just me, but you're kind of splitting hairs there with Devontae and Tyreek Hill, even Stephon Diggs to a point. But what's your take here at the top of the board for the receivers?
You read my mind, dude. Tyreek and Adams are 1 and 2. Pick your flavor. It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
mean, they're both up there. You're splitting hairs. They're both elite. And then I put Diggs. I think is the clear three. And then for me, 4 through 8 are in a very similar tier. Pick who you like.
Okay. Yeah, I don't the thing with Tyreek Hill is that he is so boomer bust. Like I like him. He's on my dynasty team, obviously. He can literally score 200 yards and three touchdowns in one game. He's always more of a DFS kind of play for me. I have him in some season longs, but if I am going to forego a running back in the first round and take one later, I'm probably going to go Devontae at wide receiver one. I think he's just a little bit more safer, especially with Rodgers back at quarterback.
Not arguing with you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like we talked about beyond that, 4 through 8, these are just, guys that you just pick your flavor, like you said. Justin Jefferson's my guy in this range. I absolutely thought he was an absolute stud last year. I think he's going to repeat that. They love Kirk Cousins loves feeding him the ball. Adam Thielen is there obviously still, but he I think Justin Jefferson has clearly proven that he's the wide receiver one in Minnesota.
Thielen's kind of worked his way to like almost like the red zone tight end. I think
Yeah.
he had like 12, 13, 14 touchdowns last year. But I don't think he eclipsed 1,000 yards. And Jefferson, I love like his draft profile. He was like, oh, he was the slot guy on LSU. He'll be a PPR. He'll be fine in PPR. He was like, F that. He's playing on the outside and just dominating everyone down the field. So good on him. For not
Yeah.
being a huge guy. He's just absolutely like mossing people at 21 years old.
Yeah, I think he also at LSU he had to kind of take that role just because Jamar Chase
Jamar Chase, yeah.
decided to sit out for a season. So I think that development, just being on the outside, just kind of transitioned him into being such a explosive receiver in the NFL. But yeah, I like him. I like AJ Brown. I mean, these guys are you can't go wrong with any of them. I'm not as high on Hopkins this year. I know there's talks of him being an anti-vaxxer and what if he gets COVID and all that stuff. But he's still a stud wide receiver. But I would probably, me personally, I would probably take Jefferson over Hopkins this year. But like you said, like these guys are just they're all really good, and you can't really go wrong with taking any of these guys.
Yeah, 4 through 8 are pretty much lumped together for me, except if we're talking PPR. I'm going Hopkins for. He gets way too many targets and catches. He's not that explosive guy anymore, so he's not going to give you, those like big breakout, 9 catches for 190 yards, like Metcalf or AJ Brown or Jefferson. They can, put up those Sports Center games. I mean, Hopkins is 7 catches, 100 yards, touchdown. It's book it. Like he's just Kyler's guy.
Yeah. I know we were talking before the show, and you said that you weren't sure why Terry McLaurin is here at wide receiver 9. I agree. I think that I would rather have Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen over Terry McLaurin, but I do kind of have a soft spot for Ryan Fitzpatrick wide receivers. I think he loves gunning it to the guys, especially the whoever the wide receiver 1 is on that team. We saw it last year with the year before with Devontae Parker in Miami. Who do you think, who are you going to take in this, if you were to take a person in this range, and who you're not going to take?
Yeah, love the player with McLaurin. Hate the rank right here. So if Devontae Parker can do it, McLaurin can definitely do it. I'm just worried because McLaurin's never finished higher than wide receiver 20, and we're giving him a 39-year-old quarterback, and we think he can be wide receiver 9.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I think it's his ceiling, or his ceiling is only a little bit higher than this, and you don't really want to draft players at their ceiling.
Yeah.
I like all these players here, but personally, like the 9 through 12 is kind of like a little bit of an area I'm not really ending up with them that much, because
Mm.
I think I'd rather take the running backs that are drafted around where they are than them. Keenan Allen's great player, great in PPR especially. He has a really good quarterback now. Justin Herbert's a real deal. Not much target competition. Mike Williams
Yeah.
is kind of like a 50 catch guy. So
Yeah.
you mentioned a good thing about Allen Robinson. The only thing I'm scared of is Justin Fields might not play this year. So
Come on, dude. Is he not? He's not going to play.
the
Come
Red
on. Andy
Rocket,
Dalton
man,
is.
respect.
He is. If Andy Dalton starts the year, fine. If he wants to be the QB on week 1, they're going to start off like 0-4, and the Bears fans are just going to be screaming for Justin Fields to get in the game. Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback by at the latest week 8.
So can I tell you?
100% guaranteed.
And I like Allen Robinson, and I'll tell you this: Andy Dalton's the best quarterback Allen Robinson's had in like 5 or 6 years,
Yeah,
or
the
maybe
guy,
ever.
the
Maybe
guy's
ever.
gone from like Blake Bortles to Mitch Trubisky. Like, come on.
Nick Foles. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been awful. So yeah, he's probably loving to see Red Rocket. So he's good either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Mike, we didn't talk about Mike Evans. Now he's a big conundrum for me. Always, the guy always seems to get to 1,000 yards somehow, somewhere or another. Even though he seems to always get hurt, or he has, Tom Brady, a quarterback who's not not a gunslinger by any means. But what's your take on Mike Evans?
Yeah, it's really hard to say I'm going to fade a guy who has never not had 1,000 yards in a year, but I don't even like him best as the best wide receiver on his team.
Yeah,
Um,
Chris Godwin.
I'm a Chris Godwin guy. I mean, I don't know. Mike Evans is just so freaking solid, but in a half PPR or PPR format, I'm taking Godwin because Brady loves his slot receivers, and Godwin is like a big bully slot receiver who's great in the red zone and
Yeah.
can just take it across the middle and take a hit. I mean, Brady just is going to drool over a healthy Chris Godwin. I mean, Godwin did well last year, and he was so banged up. He had like a hurt thumb and like a leg injury or something, and he still did great.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's pretty much no one else in Tampa besides Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. There's no one else competing for
I
turnovers.
have to correct you because
Okay.
Antonio Brown's there, and it
Oh,
scares.
I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, my bad, guys. I totally
yeah,
forgot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was completely.
What's Antonio Brown's? I didn't even see him on our list.
He,
So he's
he
ADP's where?
he's off top 36, and
Oh,
so I've done more than 100 best ball drafts, and I have zero point 0.0 Antonio Brown shares. And I was scrolling Twitter the other day, and someone was like touting Antonio Brown, and I was just like, holy crap, Antonio Brown could literally finish like wide receiver 9, and it would be totally fine.
yeah. Like we wouldn't even like bat an eye in all honesty. But he's not being drafted at all. Like I mean, in the top like
No,
6-7 rounds. No.
no.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I totally forgot Antonio Brown was on that team, and he obviously, been great in the past and did okay last year, I think. But yeah, I guess target shares there is pretty spread out between Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown. So
Yeah.
I just take your pick of the litter there, I guess. I guess if you're going to go one of the top guys, Godwin over Evans is what we're suggesting.
Yeah, it's ceilings. The ceiling's limited, but the floor's there, right? They're going to score a ton of points. I just don't, unless there's an injury, which we're not projecting, then, I don't think the ceiling's there for any of those guys.
Okay. All right, so let's drop down to tier 2 here for the wide receivers. We're going to pick it up a little bit. We've been talking for almost an hour now. So we got everyone from CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, down to Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Odell Beckham. Who's your plays? Who's your fades in this range?
Yeah, man. I feel like his ranking is already high, but I'm going higher with him. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb over Mike Evans, taking him over Terry McLaurin, and then dude, I'm all in on CeeDee Lamb this year because I don't know why, but Amari Cooper just seems like he's always banged up. I know. I actually looked it up yesterday. I was like, I swear he's missed like 10 games. He's missed like 1 or 2 games in his career. Amari Cooper. He's always on the field, but I feel like maybe
You think he misses games because he goes one catch for 10 yards and you don't hear his name during a game?
maybe that's it. But dude, CeeDee Lamb was like a gift from the gods. Like that he fell to
Yeah.
Dallas. It was like pick 15. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like
Yeah.
the fact that Jalen Waddle got picked 6th in this draft and CeeDee Lamb got picked 15th is like a travesty. Like CeeDee Lamb is so freaking good at football. He is DeAndre Hopkins. They're the same player. So the whatever career arc DeAndre Hopkins had, CeeDee Lamb, they actually look alike too, which is
Yeah.
weird. But in that offense, and he played the slot like 80-90% of his snaps last year. I mean, he's going to get over 8 catches most games. Like, just give me all the CD.
Yeah, I'm not high on Amari Cooper. I never really like him in fantasy. I could see going to CeeDee Lamb. I also could see if you don't want to take either of those guys and you want to take what's his name? What's the other wide receiver's name?
Michael Gallup.
Yeah, Michael Gallup. If you want to take him farther down the board, I could see him getting a lot of the target share. Dallas's offense is so explosive especially with hopefully Dak coming back, 100% healthy, that you could pretty much go CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. I don't like Amari Cooper, so I'm not gonna draft him. But either one of the other guys, I have no problem taking one of those guys. If you want to reach a little bit with Michael Gallup, I'm okay with that too.
I'm with you, dude. I'm going to own CD and I'm going to own some Gallup too. I'm not going to have Cooper unless he comes at a value.
Okay. Dropping down a little bit here, we got Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, all these other guys, these names. For me, I like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be a really big upgrade compared to Jared Goff. I think Sean McVay is going to take Matthew Stafford's skills and just run with them. Jared Goff literally was made to look like Jared Goff. Went to a Super Bowl, I think, solely because of Sean McVay, and the guy is absolute trash. And we've seen him have absolutely terrible games. Fine, once in a while I see that, but the Rams played so well with him because of Sean McVay, and now he's getting Matthew Stafford, somebody who's actually very skilled at the quarterback position, in my opinion, with an offensive genius like Sean McVay. I'm pretty high on the Rams receivers this year.
Yeah, man. You can't not like him. I had Robert Woods as I think he's priced appropriately. I mean, I think he's finished wide receiver 13, 14, and 11 the past 3 years. So one would say, well, he's wide receiver 17. That's a great value. I just literally don't think he has an upside. I mean, Robert Woods is like a ho-hum, top end wide receiver 2, but he's never going to be, for my opinion, a league winner. In this range, I'm still searching for that guy that could absolutely go nuclear and when I'm not trying to come in third place out of 12.
Who's the guy in this range that you think could win your league or be a wide receiver 1? In this, from 17 down to 24, who's that guy you think?
From 17 to 24. Oh, Tyler Lockett, easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Tyler Lockett's finishes the last 3 years 17, 13, and then 8 in that order. So he's getting better each year. He just got a huge contract, which I was surprised of. paid a lot of money, and
Yeah. And
and
we didn't talk about DK earlier, but their receiving core is so explosive with Lockett, with DK, and Russ. They just got to let Russ do his thing and not try to feed the ball to Chris Carson and stuff like that, and just open up the offense just a little bit more for him. And I think Lockett and Metcalf are both very high upside wide receivers.
yeah, man, for sure. Lockett's had 10 touchdowns 2 of the last 3 years. I mean, Russ just obviously trusts him so much in the red zone, and he looks for him. I mean, he had a 4 touchdown game last year too.
Yeah.
I think against Dallas. But yeah, I'm trying to think who else in that range. I love
Any thoughts on Kenny Galladay?
good player. He's a fade for me in fantasy.
Yeah, I don't get what the Giants did. They signed him to a huge deal, then they drafted a wide receiver in the first round, and I get they want to put all these weapons right around Daniel Jones, and Galladay could be good. I don't really know. He was the guy in Detroit. I mean, obviously they had Marvin Jones too, but he was like pretty much the wide receiver one with Stafford in Detroit, and he was hurt most of the year last year. Gets this huge contract with the Giants. I was kind of hoping he came to the Ravens because I really was hoping that we would, be able to get a wide receiver one finally, but he ended up with the Giants. And Daniel Jones, we're not too sure about how good he is and stuff like that. But he has literally every weapon in the book now. He has a good tight end, stud running back, stud wide receiver. So we'll see.
I'm drafting a decent amount of Galladay in best ball. I just don't know if I'll land on him too much in season long. Here's the thing, I gotta say something. Just I think there's a non-zero chance that Galladay and Daniel Jones have not the 100% same year, but like the 80% year that Josh Allen and Diggs just had. Because it's the good receiver that's shown out in the past, goes to a new team, to a quarterback that's like average at best, and just absolutely it just clicks. And the Giants offense is set up to absolutely smash. I mean, they have an athletic tight end. They have Kenny Galladay, who's one of the best down the field jump ball threats. They have a top 3 running back in football. They have Daniel Jones, who is a top pick, and they've spent money on the offensive line. So
Yeah.
I'm scared to fade Galladay because he's such that alpha that if it does click, he's going to absolutely go off. So I'm probably going to try to get a share or two.
Did you just on a Buffalo Bills stream? Did you just compare Daniel Jones to Josh Allen and say they're the same quarterback?
No, no, not exactly. I mean, we can all agree Josh Allen wasn't a Pro Bowler before last year,
No,
right?
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I will.
He was busy running in the playoffs and throwing the ball backwards out of bounds and stuff like that.
I will say there's more similarities than Buffalo wants to admit.
Yeah, true. I agree. Any other takes on any of these guys? Ayuk,
Yes,
Beckham?
I haven't got to my biggest take yet.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
The fact that Odell Beckham is ranked number 24 just absolutely makes my head explode. Just
Like
stop.
he should be lower or higher?
Lower.
Yeah, I
I already
agree.
looked. I already looked. I'm taking every single wide receiver in tier 3 over Odell Beckham, and it's literally not even an option. Like,
Yeah,
would people, the last time Odell Beckham was a top 15 wide receiver was 2016. That was 5 years ago.
yeah. He's had a lot of injuries.
Okay, but people are so infatuated with like the swag, the one-handed catches, the
Yeah,
jukes, the
yeah, of course.
explosive plays. The guy, number one, he's tied to Baker Mayfield, which is terrible. He's on a run-first offense. I would literally, there is 0% chance I will own Odell Beckham in any format ever. He's just, people need to
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, I agree. The people just see his name and they just think of his most famous catches, obviously, and stuff like that. All these flashy catches he had with the Giants, and they will just be like, "Oh my God, Odell Beckham available at wide receiver 24." I'm clicking his name. Like, I get that. That's why he's ranked here at wide receiver 24. Could he potentially go back to old Odell Beckham and be that wide receiver one? I say a slim to none chance, but is it in the realm of outcomes? Maybe, but yeah, like you said, Baker Mayfield not that great. Not that great for fantasy wide receivers. I would rather take a shot with Jarvis Landry possibly later down the board compared to Odell Beckham, but
He
that's
he
just
out
me.
he outproduced. So you said like Beckham's been hurt. If you look at the last time Beckham played a full season, which was 2 seasons ago, I think Landry had more catches, more yards, more touchdowns.
Yeah,
Odell's done. Get rid of
yeah.
him.
Okay, that's your take. I'll roll with that. Anybody else there? Or you want to move on to tier three?
Nah, I mean, Ayuk's awesome player, super explosive. He's kind of a fade for me. Just I don't. San Francisco has so much unknown, and
Yeah.
I think Kittle's the target there. Debo's there too. You don't know who the
Would you
quarterback.
say would you say Ayuk is a fade for you if you knew that Trey Lance was going to be the quarterback week one?
I don't
Or
even know who I want to be the quarterback if I had Ayuk as the receiver. I mean,
true. Okay.
it's so much unknown. And put it this way, Ayuk is like a world class athlete. I mean, you saw like him leaping over people and like taking screen passes to the house. He's a killer player. It's gonna hurt to fade him. I'm just for now until I hear like more training camp of like he's the freaking alpha there, then I'm laying off for now.
They're gonna have to throw to somebody in San Francisco, and I think the guy is Ayuk. But like you said, Kittle is probably the number one target there. But if they're gonna go outside Ayuk, Debo, yeah, I agree. Like you just gotta kind of wait and see what coaches are saying. But I will say this is that I'm not Mike Shanahan, the other guy, Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
son. He is an offensive genius. So if he was going to be explosive in this offense, I think Kyle Shanahan's the right type of guy to get him up there. And we saw it last year. Ayuk was a stud down the stretch in playoffs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just I just want to, I think he's a great player. I love his talent. I'm going to warn people from looking back at his game logs and saying, "Oh my God, this guy crushed," because Kittle and Debo weren't there. So just
yeah,
be
true.
careful. Yeah.
Yeah,
So great player. Wouldn't be surprised if he broke out. Just be careful with him.
yeah. All right, so let's drop down to tier three for wide receivers. We got T Higgins, T Higgins, as some people like to call him, 20 wide receiver 25, Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 26, down to Jerry Judy, Brandon Cooks, Juju Smith-Schuster. I'll just give my take right off here of all these guys off the top. I think Jamar Chase is an absolute stud. I think he's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Maybe not this year, but definitely moving forward. I could foresee him having a Justin Jefferson like rookie campaign. I think the Bengals are going to throw the ball nonstop. I think Joe Burrow coming back and they're just going to be chucking it left and right. Yes, they have guys like Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, but I don't think they compare in skill wise to what Jamar Chase is. So I'm going to be reaching on a Jamar Chase. I don't know if it's a reach or not, but I'm going to be overdrafting him. If he's available for me at that wide receiver 22, 23 spot, I'm probably going to be taking Jamar Chase.
Yeah, so these are the like we said before, the expert consensus rankings of all the fantasy pros experts.
Mhm.
But actually, in drafts right now, Jamar is going before T, which
Okay.
I don't like, and I'm not doing it. So I'm taking T Higgins before Jamar if they're both available at the same point in the draft. Um, I just think I know Jamar has the rapper with Burrow, but T has a year in the offense. He played awesome. They used him in the red zone, and I, I think that the Justin Jefferson season was such an anomaly, and it's so nearby. I think Jamar's an absolute beast. I don't think that's going to be repeated very often, and it could be, but I think it's once in a blue moon that you're going to do that and have he was like wide receiver 6 or something. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm with you on Jamar. As you know, I traded him away in Dynasty, and I
Yeah.
regretted it like the instant I did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's absolute alpha. I mean, he's the person that made Justin Jefferson move to the slot at LSU. Um,
Yeah.
and he had an absolutely amazing season when they won the national championship. So absolute stud.
All right. So also on this list, we got three Steelers receivers: Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju. Um, what's your take on that? I'm leaning more towards Claypool just because I think he's the most explosive out of the three. Who do you like out of the three?
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Unless I'm playing a full PPR, I guess I would give the edge to Deontay. I don't like Deontay Johnson that much. I'm not going to end up with much of him just because I like pretty much every player that's touching him. Like, I like T better. I like Cortland Sutton better. I like Jamar Chase better. And I like Michael Thomas better. So Deontay is a little bit of a fade for me. I get what people like. He's an elite route runner. He's an elite separator. He has some problems with drops. I just think last year was a bit of like a weird year in Pitt. They didn't have a running back at all, really.
Yeah.
Like, so Ben literally threw until his arm fell off, and like I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. Like he
Which I
turned.
think I think I think he's gonna do that again this year. I mean, even with Najee Harris back there, I think they're still more of a pass oriented team. Like even though traditional Steelers offense is more of a run based offense, I still think they're gonna try to chuck the ball down the field.
Yeah, with with the volume having to come down a little bit because of Najee as compared to James Conner. Um, I think I like Claypool more. Like you said, he is the more explosive player. His rookie year compared way too closely with DK Metcalf's rookie year. I mean, they're like the exact same size. DK is like a touch faster, but Claypool was just he was a miss by NFL scouts. I mean, a lot of people said like he should be playing tight end. Like he's way too raw. Notre Dame sucks, and I said the same thing. I didn't draft any Clay Chapel in Dynasty, and the guy's just really good. So
Yeah.
and with all things considered, unless it's full PPR, I'm going Claypool.
Okay. Of course, the Steelers are going to draft a Notre Dame wide receiver, and when we draft a Notre Dame wide receiver, and Miles
It's Miles
Boykin is
Boykin, dude.
absolute garbage. Yeah, absolute garbage. All right. So you mentioned his name earlier. It's the elephant in the room. We got to talk about him. Michael Thomas. What are we doing here? He's wide receiver 30. We know he's going to miss probably half the season up until at least November, maybe. I don't know. I'm hearing 3, 4 months down the road. I don't really know. What are you doing with Michael Thomas if he's there?
Yeah, Michael Thomas is a buy at wide receiver 30 for me. The news could change every day. As of yesterday, I was hearing like he could miss like 4 to 6 weeks of the season, or 4 to 8, like more likely like 4 to 6. That could change, 3 times this week. I don't know. But my strategy in fantasy is I'm trying to get first place. I'm not trying to get, third or fourth. So I think if you can get Michael Thomas and you can survive the first 4 to 6 weeks and, use kind of like a get me over wide receiver to take, 70% of his production or 60% of his production, and then have him come back to a Jameis Winston led team and you're getting him at wide receiver 30. So I was looking and I was saying, like, where would I rank Michael Thomas if this injury news didn't come out about him? And he's my wide receiver 8. So to get my wide receiver 8 missing, we'll just call it 6 out of 17 games, and I'm still going to get him for the fantasy playoffs, and I'm going to get him with Jameis Winston. I'm in.
Yeah. So I do agree with that. Me personally, I've always been a big Jameis fan when it comes to fantasy quarterbacks. The thing that I'm a little bit hesitant on when it comes to Michael Thomas is Jameis Winston actually going to be the quarterback when he comes back healthy? Or is it going to be
Fair.
Taysom Hill? Taysom Hill. We don't know that. We saw last year when Drew Brees got hurt, it was pretty much all Taysom Hill. And Sean Payton absolutely adores Taysom Hill. I think Jameis Winston is the better quarterback. Obviously, he's a great fantasy quarterback. The guy can literally throw like 5 touchdowns in one game. He's also going to throw 5 interceptions in one game. But if it's Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas comes back 100% by week 8, he can win you a league. And I think he is the guy to have at this point in the board. You do have to put him on your bench and ride that roster spot for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. But down the stretch in the playoffs, he can definitely win your league. He has such a high floor with his points per reception, with Jameis at quarterback potentially. I think he's a buy for me too.
So let me give like a little bit of game theory here. So like to me, drafting Michael Thomas at wide receiver 30 and losing him for 6 weeks, it's almost the equivalent of like drafting Tony Pollard and then 6 weeks into the season, Zeke goes down. because like, okay, he's worthless and you're not going to play him and you're not going to play Michael Thomas because he's out. But then when he comes back, he's a wide receiver one. That's not argue. Like, he 2 years ago, he set records. He was a wide receiver one by a huge margin.
Yeah.
So
I so
I'm rolling the dice with him this year.
I agree with that take, but I will say one thing: the difference between what you just said is that if you have an injury or something, or you need to pick up somebody, or even when it gets into bye weeks and stuff like that, you have the ability to drop Tony Pollard and pick someone up
Yeah,
to fill in your
can't
spot.
drop
You
Michael
can't
Thomas.
drop Michael Thomas.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna draft him and you're gonna ride with him until he comes back to see what he can produce. So buyer beware. I am gonna buy. You're gonna buy. We're in on Michael Thomas. He's going to ride the bench for a little while, but hopefully he comes back and hopefully he can win you guys a league. So we talked about Michael Thomas, the other guys in this range. I'm out on the Denver wide receivers completely. I just don't like their offense at all this year. Sutton and Judy, I'm just out. DJ Chark, I don't know with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback could be really good. I heard something the other day that he's never been like better than like a wide receiver, like 20 more than like maybe 2 games in like one, during a season. I don't really know how true that was, but yeah. What are your takes on any of these other guys here?
Yeah, with Chark, I like the player. But I mentioned it earlier. If there's a situation I'm just a little bit unsure of, I'm going for the value.
Yeah.
And I do like Chark a lot, but I was going to ask you, this is a situation where I'm actually going to dip 2 values lower. So
Okay.
I like Chark. Don't blame me for taking him. I think he's appropriately ranked. Also like Laviska Shenault. I'm
Okay.
taking Marvin Jones. Um, Marvin Jones is ranked much lower than Chark and Laviska. Marvin
Okay.
Jones is a very underrated wide receiver. The guy's a touchdown magnet, and he's an outstanding down the field threat. And Visca is not that guy. He's a Debo Samuel type. DJ Chark is lanky and he's like a good jump ball guy, but he doesn't really have that breakaway home run speed that Marvin Jones has. And Marvin Jones is a veteran. He's been around the block. He's been on Detroit. I mean, I think he's about 30 years old. So
Okay.
I think he's going to be that veteran presence for Trevor. So I'm going Marvin Jones this year.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, guys, that when you draft a Jacksonville wide receiver this year, you do have that potential of Trevor Lawrence being Patrick Mahomes or being, an absolute stud quarterback. We don't know that obviously yet. He has the all be all potential to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. We don't know. The last time we had a quarterback this highly ranked prospect coming out of college was Andrew Luck. He was solid for a little while. Obviously, retired early. So we'll see Trevor Lawrence if he ends up being like Patrick Mahomes, and then all these wide receivers for Jacksonville are going to be fantasy worthy for your team down the stretch. We obviously won't know that till a few weeks into the season, but we'll see.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm with you a little bit on Denver. I like Cortland Sutton. I mean, guy's just a beast. He has
Yeah,
alpha size. I like him if Drew Lock's the quarterback because
they
Drew
they
Lock.
just need to they just need to get a quarterback. I
I,
just if Aaron Rodgers is in a quarterback next year, then yeah, I'm in on the Denver receivers, but not this year for me.
yeah, I mean, I like Cortland Sutton more as a player than Jerry Judy, I think. But if you're giving me a 7 wide receiver discount, I'll probably go Judy. But I like Judy if Bridgewater's a quarterback. But I like Cortland Sutton as a down the field guy if Lock's quarterback.
Yeah. All right, and then just a couple rattle off some of these sleepers that we have: Jalen Rager, Denzel Mims, Traquan Smith. Obviously, we're going to use him as a sleeper. He's not really being drafted at wide receiver 62 anymore because of the Thomas injury news. He's being drafted higher, I believe. So if you want to, they're obviously going to have to throw the ball to somebody in New Orleans, and I think Traquan's the guy. Brashard Perryman, kind of the same situation in Detroit. They're going to have to throw the ball to somebody, and he's probably the only wide receiver that's of any value there. And then a couple of these other guys that we mentioned: Brian Edwards, just a guy, and then Anthony Miller, just a guy in Houston.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just go through mine really quick.
Yep.
I like Jalen Rager. I don't really think it's set in stone that Devonta Smith is just going to come in Philly and be the alpha number one wide receiver right away. I mean, I think Goddard is kind of the number one target there anyway. And people forget Rager was the 21st pick last year.
Yeah.
So he's he got an injury in training camp, and then he came back, played a few games, and he got a different injury. So he was just really banged up. The guy's an electric athlete, and I don't know. We don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to do, but I think Brager is like criminally underrated at 57. I mean, I'm taking a shot on him, at least 10 spots before that. Denzel Mims, kind of the same deal. He was a second round pick last year, top of the second round, and they actually have a quarterback now.
Yeah.
And when Denzel Mims did play last year, he was really good.
Yeah.
He had a really high yards per catch. He didn't catch any touchdowns, but like his highlights. You hate to watch only highlights, but man, he has great size and he's just a bully, man. Like he's a good wide receiver. So I
Yeah.
like Mims.
Yeah.
Traquan Smith, even when Thomas comes back, I think he's going to be the wide receiver too, especially because he has a chance to show out as wide receiver one for a couple weeks. He didn't fit Drew Brees' skill set at all. Traquan's like a long striding, like down the field guy. So he's going to be perfect for Jameis Winston. I mean, Jameis is like drooling over this guy. Trust me. Yeah, you can talk about Perriman. He's your dude.
Yeah, I just think I mean, just like I said, there's got to be someone to throw to in Detroit.
Yeah.
And even though Jared Goff kind of sucks, I think if you're going to take a flyer down here, Rashard Perriman's the guy. I don't really know much about Brian Edwards. I mean, is he wide receiver two?
Yeah, he's my dude. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge Brian Edwards truther. Brian Edwards has like the youngest breakout rating of all time. Like he broke out as a 17-year-old in college. Oh wait, did I say that right? Yeah. So he was like not even his 18th birthday. So the guy is like absolute alpha body. Henry Ruggs sucks. They they lost Nelson Aguilar, who actually had a
Yeah.
really good year last year.
Yeah, I know.
They replaced him with John Brown, who's not quite Nelson Aguilar. Yeah, so I just
That offense though, I mean, the number one guy is Darren Waller, and it's all Darren Waller, in my
yeah
opinion.
yeah
So
no,
we'll
I
see.
think for Edwards, what I'm shooting for is I'm hoping he could be like your flex player, and at wide receiver 77, I want a guy that like has a path to be the number one receiver to their team. And I think even at wide receiver 77, I think he has a pretty easy, not easy, he has a decent path to be the number one target at wide receiver other than Darren Waller. So
Yeah.
that's why I picked him.
All right, so we spent a lot of time talking about your main positions at running back and wide receiver. We're going to breeze through the quarterbacks here. We're not going to really break them up into tiers. We're just going to talk about the guys that we like, obviously at the top of the board, and then some sleepers that we like towards the bottom. And then we'll get into tight ends after that, and then we'll wrap up the show. So obviously, number one QB ranked is Patrick Mahomes, and then Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Dak, Russell, and then in the middle range we got guys like Tannehill and Burrow and Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins, and then towards the end we got the Flyers there who you're going to probably take as your second quarterback and leave them on a bench is Fitzpatrick, Derek Carr, Justin Fields. Who's your guys here? Obviously at the top. Obviously we both don't like drafting overreaching on quarterbacks. So most likely in a draft that you're in, Patrick Mahomes is probably going to go in the top round, 2 rounds. I usually don't like taking a quarterback that early, but who's your guys up here?
Yeah, so I'll just start off by saying I think quarterback 1 through 6 has a very easy path to QB1.
Yeah.
I might even agree that Herbert does too. I don't think Rodgers can get there because he had an absolutely awesome year last year, threw 48 touchdowns, and he wasn't QB1. So he just doesn't run enough anymore. So I like Rodgers a lot this year, but I think if I'm looking to leave every draft with one of the quarterbacks, I'll say 1 through 6, but at the same time, I'll say my fades at ADP this year are Mahomes and Allen. I'm just not drafting a quarterback that high as they're going.
Yeah.
I can't really blame you because they can put up a 40 spot like any week. But in my defense of my argument I'm about to make, so can Kyler, so can Lamar, so can Dak, and so can Russ. So I'm not spending 2 or 3 rounds higher draft capital on Mahomes and Allen when everyone down to Russ or Herbert on this list can do the exact same thing any given week, and probably with just as much frequency.
Yeah, and out of all those guys you mentioned, obviously we're a little biased towards Lamar. His rushing upside is just unbelievable. The guy can rush for 1,000 yards. I think he's rushed for 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. And same thing with Kyler. He has good rushing capabilities. When you're drafting Mahomes, you're basically drafting him at that spot, thinking he's gonna replicate his MVP season and throw like 50 touchdowns or 5,000 yards and stuff like that. Is he going to do that? We assumed there was going to be a little bit of regression last year. There was a little bit of regression last year. Is there going to be more regression, or is he going to go back to that MVP season? I don't know. Like you said, I can't take him at that ADP. Allen, I'm a little biased towards him. He's my dynasty QB, so I hope he has a great season. So
You're welcome.
yeah.
Let's tell everyone our trade.
Yeah.
Rick,
halfway through the season, well, at the beginning of last year when we drafted, when we made our draft, I drafted Deshaun Watson, Chris drafted Josh Allen, and since the draft, like we talked every week, let's trade Josh Allen for Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen for Deshaun Watson. We finally pulled the trigger halfway through the season, and then obviously all this news came out about Deshaun Watson and his sexual allegations and all that stuff. And
let's be fair, I won the championship even with Deshaun, so
yeah, sure,
he was worth it. But now you have Josh Allen. But I've since moved on with Deshaun, and I've landed on my team, my QB that I will have on the most teams this year, Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray would have easily finished as QB1 last year. He hurt his shoulder, if you remember, and it was like week 11 or week 12. Yeah. And if you look at his game log before he hurt his shoulder, he was like absolutely shitting on Lamar's MVP year. I mean, the guy was literally dropping 40 points every week. He was amazing. And
I had a Kyler Murray MVP betting ticket last year that was looking beautiful, but then it went dead.
He hurt his shoulder, and then he still did well down the stretch. But I mean, I just think, honestly, I think if I had to bet, I say Kyler Murray is going to score the most points of any quarterback, and if I can get him at QB3, at a couple round discount, that's who I'm shooting for. I also really like Russell Wilson. I mean, I don't know why the guy is down at QB6. I mean, he does it every year. He's the most consistent quarterback. Even I can argue he's more consistent than Mahomes, right?
Yeah, so. he is running for his life a lot of the time. I mean, their offensive line is really, really bad. I don't know how much they've improved this offseason, but yeah, if you just let the guy, as you said, let Russ cook, he's going to put up fantasy points every season. Yeah, I agree. And Justin Herbert, I think he's a stud. He's the real deal. He does have pretty good weapons. They got Jared Cook at tight end this year. They got Keenan Allen. I'm not too sure about the running back situation. So I think they're going to lean a lot on Justin Herbert. I think he brings a little bit of rushing upside too. I think he does rush the ball a little bit. So I'm in on Herbert also. If you want to take a QB, if you're in that position, and the top 6 QBs are off the board, I would definitely go with Justin Herbert over Aaron Rodgers or Hurts.
Yeah, man. I think that's we should get that point across here. I think a lot of casual players are going to go Rodgers or Hurts over Herbert, and I think that's a mistake. Justin Herbert, I think he had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. Yeah. He's an underrated athlete. I mean, I think he's got a little Josh Allen in him. He's in a high tempo offense and warm weather, and I love him. So I'm really trying to come out with one of those top 7 quarterbacks.
Yeah. All right. So in this middle range right here, I'm big on Joe Burrow this year. Like I said earlier, I think their passing attack's going to be just insane this year. So I definitely like him. I bet Joe Burrow to be MVP this year. I think it was like 100 to 1 ticket. So just this little sprinkle, just in case he goes out there and throws for like 5,000 yards or something like that. I just think he's going to be a stud this year, which scares me a little bit being a Ravens fan. But yeah, Joe Burrow. And I don't really care for anyone else in this range. I talked about Matt Stafford earlier. He doesn't really put up the greatest fantasy points, but I would take Burrow over Stafford, but I would take him over Brady and Tannehill also. But who's your takes here in the middle?
Yeah, hard to argue against Brady. He's set up. He has elite weapons. He always gets a couple rushing touchdowns a year, which is weird. He has like no yards, but he always also gets a couple touchdowns. I like Ryan Tannehill a lot. I'm not really drafting him over Rodgers or Hurts. I'm not I'd probably take him over Brady, but that's the only person I'm moving him over. But I'm looking to acquire him at his price.
Yeah.
He has a great rushing floor. He's an underrated athlete, and he just added Julio Jones, who's like the best wide receiver of our generation.
Yeah.
So with AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and then the defense having to respect Derrick Henry, as you've seen, like Tennessee's offense has been so damn efficient that Tannehill is just like he's shooting fish in a bucket, man. I mean, he has two elite receivers and like one of the top three running backs in the league.
Yeah, and I think the past fear that we had with Tannehill was, is he actually any good, or is he going to revert back to Ryan Tannehill that we knew before he joined
Nah,
Tennessee?
man,
And I
that was Adam Gase.
yeah, I agree. So like, I don't think that I don't think that's the case. I think he is actually a legit quarterback, and I think he is going to have a good season. I think he had a good season last year. I think with the weapons that he has, he's good. I am going to take Burrow over him, but I could definitely see Tannehill having a good season.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So my fades in this range, I have two really strong fades. I won't have them on any teams. Is Matt Ryan and Baker Mayfield. Matt Ryan had the most pass attempts in the NFL last year. I think he finished as like quarterback 12 or something like that. And he just lost Julio Jones, who's kind of good
Yeah,
at football. So Kyle Pitts is not going to make up for Julio Jones, and it's not even going to be close. Not in year one. So
yeah,
get that out of
and
your mind.
and I mean, me personally, I think Matt Ryan, like we've always had this like Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco like comparison or whatever. I've never thought Matt Ryan was that good. He puts up great fantasy stats and stuff like that, but just the guy, is he going to try to win the game, or is he going to try to put up garbage points in the fourth quarter? We don't know, but yeah, I'm out on Matt Ryan also. I mean, like we said, Baker Mayfield also sucks. I'll take a in a couple of drafts if I have the ability to take Trevor Lawrence as a backup. If I'm getting one of those top QBs, I could definitely see taking Lawrence just in case if he is the real deal.
Yeah. So one of the strategies. So if you're kind of out on getting one of those top 7 or 8 guys, there is a strategy I'm gonna try a couple times, especially in like best ball drafts and single season drafts. I kind of like the strategy of waiting on quarterback and getting someone like that's solid, like a top end QB2 or like a back end QB1, like Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk
Yeah,
Cousins is like pretty criminally underrated.
yeah,
He's a buy for
he
me.
is. He is every year.
Yeah, he's underrated every year, and he has Justin Jefferson who's ascending, Dalvin Cook, Irv Smith, Adam
Yeah,
Thielen. He has good weapons, but I like the strategy of getting like a Kirk Cousins, or even though I'm full fade on Matt Ryan, getting someone who is like not gonna crap the bed on you. If
yeah,
you wanted to shoot for someone in tier 3 that has elite upside, so if you want to get someone like, don't ever draft like Matt Ryan and Baker Mayfield. If you do that, just quit fantasy football because you have no upside at your quarterback position. But if
right.
you wanted to draft like a Kirk Cousins and then take a shot on Justin Fields or Trey
Justin Fields.
Lance,
Yeah,
that is a
mhm,
good build because you can always lean on Kirk to like not lose you the week, and you
yeah.
might have like a hit on your second quarterback.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. That's a pretty good strategy. And I know you, and you've been drafting, I've been in drafts with you for years now, and you're probably more prone to go that strategy than take like a Mahomes or an Allen or even a Kyler Murray up top, and where you could get a better skill position and build depth on your team.
mhm. Yeah, agree.
So in the column three, those are the guys that you're feeling on Justin Fields and Trey Lance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a strategy that's worth trying in a couple leagues, because it could really pay off if
Yeah,
Fields and Lance play earlier in the year.
yeah.
Um,
Even Jameis too.
yeah, Jameis is a nice buy, but I have one player that I'm all in this tier, and he's my highest owned player in best ball, and I'm gonna look to get him in a whole bunch of season long leagues. I can't really afford him in dynasty. Tua, I literally don't understand the hate. Everyone thought Tua was like God's gift to Earth. In college a couple years ago, he won the national championship. He could do no wrong, and then the guy had a gruesome injury. He had a miraculous recovery time, and then people said he didn't look great last year. Well, like no crap, because the guy dislocated his hip like less than a year before that.
Okay,
Tua,
okay.
Tua, I'm not saying he would have got drafted over Joe Burrow. It would have been a conversation if he did not get hurt, because everyone was smitten over Tua. He had intangibles. He was a
Oh yeah,
leader.
everyone the teams were tanking for Tua. That's what that was.
Yeah,
That was
tanking for Tua. And now
yeah.
why? Because he dislocated his hip or broke his hip, whatever he did, and then came back and had a mediocre year as a rookie when his wide receiver one was like freaking Preston Williams last year.
Yeah.
Why is everyone saying Tua sucks? Like it literally makes no sense to
Just
me.
okay. So I have a little bit different of a take on that. I can see how you could see that and stuff like that, but in the games that he played last year, he just didn't show that flash factor that you saw in Josh Allen, that you saw in Lamar and Kyler Murray in their rookie years. Um,
Well,
for
let's
me
be fair.
personally,
Sorry, Buffalo fans, close your ears. Josh Allen looked like shit his rookie year.
yeah, no, he did. I
But
agree.
like, yeah,
But you weren't drafting Josh Allen the next year. You needed to see it from him for a year before he became an elite quarterback. For me, it's kind of the same thing with Tua. I need to see him with all these weapons that he has with Waddle and Will Fuller and Mike Gesicki at tight end before I can commit to Tua
so,
this year. Like if he has a good year this year, I'll buy next year. But I'm out on Tua this year. I need to see it from him first.
sure. I get your point, but if you see it, it's too late. Like we've seen it on Josh Allen. Now he's QB2.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm taking my stand on Tua before I see
Okay.
it because I don't think he should like. I'm taking Tua over Wentz, Mayfield, Matt Ryan, and it's a toss up with Cousins. It depends what my build is.
Okay.
His weapons are just elite. I mean,
Yeah.
he has Jalen Waddle. He has Devontae Parker. Uh, who's the receiver from Houston? I'm blanking.
Will Fuller, right?
Will
You just said.
Fuller. He has Will Fuller. Yeah. He has elite receivers, and um, I just don't. I don't see the hate. It's like all you see is like bad things about Tua. People said he like played scared last year. Well, like kind of no crap because he just broke his hip. So,
Yeah.
and I think he was really rushed into action. I don't know why they didn't redshirt him the whole year. If he just wouldn't have played at all last year, and around he had such a crap squad that he played with last year, and he
Yeah.
was coming into this year as like the guaranteed starter. Do you not think he would be ranked like 13th or 14th in this list?
Yeah. Their QB situation last year was really weird, where they were just like interchanging like Fitzpatrick into a like mid game. Like sometimes, like I didn't really understand it, like what they were trying to accomplish. But obviously, being a top 10 pick, fans are going to want to see him. You're going to want to see him in the game, see if he actually is the real deal. I didn't see it last year in him being the real deal, but maybe this year he takes a step up and he is the real deal. Who knows? But
Yeah,
he's healthier this year, obviously, so we'll
yeah.
see.
So just one thing of game theory before we move on. If you draft a quarterback in the top 6 or 7, you probably shouldn't take a second quarterback unless you like there's no one you really like and you want to
Yeah.
swing for like a Lance or a Fields and you want to like maybe trade them later.
Yeah.
If you take Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, can you just please not draft Ben
Yeah,
Roethlisberger?
just pick up a QB
Yeah,
when he's on bye
yeah.
or something. Just pick
It's
up a QB on the waiver wire that week.
with your you need people don't value their bench enough, and that I think that's one of the biggest flaws in
Yeah,
fantasy football is people see that people on their bench like scored points and it like makes them happy. I don't get it. Like we didn't win anything for that. I want people on my bench to like get zeros, and because I want that upside play where they could like absolutely go off one week when they finally get playing time or whatever. But anyway, that's just
yeah.
a little bit of game theory.
All right, so let's go to the tight ends. This is the last group of position that we're going to cover. We're not going to talk about defenses or cookers or anything like that. So, tight ends, tier one, we know the names: Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, all the way down to Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan.
Mhm.
Second tier, we got guys like Tyler Higbee, Mike Gesicki, Logan Thomas, Hunter Henry, Blake Jarwin, and last tier we got names like Jared Cook. Gerald Everett, Zach Ertz is weirdly down in TE24 now. I guess he's not that good anymore, but and then Anthony Ferkser. So tight end is a weird position because you're getting a lot of people are drafting obviously Travis Kelce in round one. He is in his own tier, I think,
Mhm.
when it comes to tight
Mhm.
end. So I completely understand. You get so much more value drafting Travis Kelce, and you just pretty much lock up the TE position all year. And then in the next tier below Travis Kelce is Kittle, Waller, Andrews, Hawkinson, these types of guys. Do you agree?
Yeah, Travis Kelce's tier 1, a tier of his own, and no one's really rivaling him. And I think it's a draft strategy this year. People are going, people that draft like 108, 109, 110 are going Kelsey, and I'm not going to do it. I see why they do it though.
Yeah.
But yeah, tier two is Kittle and Waller for me. I think they're in play in the third round. Some people are going for them in the second round. I see it, but I'm a third round guy for them. And then I think 4 through 9, you know, obviously Hawkinson's my number 4 guy. Sorry, Rick. I know Andrew's Raven, but I like TJ Hawkinson a lot. And my biggest fade in this 1 through 9 is Kyle Pitts. I just drafted him in a dynasty league like 3 days ago. Uh, Love him. He's a unicorn. He's 20 years old. He's unstoppable in the red zone. He's not going to do it 20 years old at the tight end position in the NFL. Um, his absolute ceiling is probably tight end 6.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if he has like an ungodly, unforeseen, like Evan Engram, rookie year plus an extra 30-40%, maybe he could be like tight end 3. But like, I don't know why we would draft him at tight end 6. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, in all honesty, I watched a lot of Florida games last year. I like watching college football, and um, I mean, he might be getting. I mean, yes, he is getting an upgraded quarterback from Jacob Trask to Matt Ryan. I don't know how much of an upgrade he's getting at this point, but he he's good. He's big. He reminds me of like a Darren Waller kind of type of tight end. You're right. I'm not going to be reaching for him at TE6. I would rather take Goddard or some other guys below him maybe over him. But um, yeah, I could see it. He has the potential to be boom or bust this year. We'll see. I don't really know how the Falcons offense is going to function with him in it. We could even see like two tight with Hayden Hurst and go at the same time. So we'll see. I think the big guy in Atlanta's offense is going to be Ridley. Like I think that's who they're going to run their pass attack through. But who knows? Kyle Pitts, he could be good. I didn't see that many flashes from him in college. Like these people have been projecting him to be a stud, Travis Kelce type tight end in the NFL. So we'll see. But yeah, like you said, Travis Kelce, his own tier. I like Andrews more than Hawkinson. I like Kittle and Waller about the same for me. So yeah, those are the guys there. I'm out on Denver, all the Denver guys. So I'm
Yeah, Rick, you froze. So
likes to catch touchdowns.
cool. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Kittle and Waller, pick your flavor. I don't prefer one or the other. I like Hawkinson a little over Andrews, but I think that's a pick your flavor too. I'm big on Robert Tonyan this year.
Okay.
He finished as like tight end. I don't know. I think he was tight end 4 last year. So he had like 11 touchdowns. I think he had like a super high
Yeah,
touchdown rate.
he's a touchdown machine, but that's kind of lucky at the end of the day. Is he catching a lot of passes? Like is he
So
yardage wise? Like what is he? Yeah.
So I think he had like I'm spitballing here. I think he had like 7 or 8 incomplete passes towards him last year. Like, he had like a 91 or 90. He had a super high catch rate and like a 20% touchdown rate or something. So it was like it's unachievable, and that's fine. I just think that he's now, tight ends evolve slow. I think he's like 26, 27 years old. He just hit his
Okay.
prime, and Rodgers is back, right? So I think it's wheels up for Tanyan. I mean, I think I think he's not gonna score that many touchdowns. Well, he could, but I think he's gonna get more targets. I think Rodgers trusts him now. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I just see that touchdown rate last year, and I just think he's like a better version of Robert Gronkowski. So I don't know, like somebody just catches balls in the red zone. So we'll see.
yeah.
But yeah, dropping into this middle tier here, Higby, Gasecki, Logan Thomas, Irv Smith, Rob Gronkowski. Who do you like here? I like Irv Smith. I think he's the guy in Minnesota now since Kyle Rudolph's gone.
Yeah, so I kind of took this tier and I divided it between, I think there's people that have high upsides and low floors, and then there's people that have low upside and high floors. So I think Irv Smith is in that high upside, low floor. I mean, the guy hasn't done anything yet. Um, he's a bit of a wish, right? So he hasn't ever really been the starter. He's kind of just played a little slot receiver behind Kyle Rudolph, and I think he was a second round pick at
Yeah.
Alabama. So
Yeah.
he's a good athlete. He's very undersized. He's like 6'2", 230. So he's like not even close to the size of Chase Claypool. So the fact that he plays tight end is like kind of weird. I like him too. I'm taking him a lot. I think I would take him over Logan Thomas, who just got a really nice contract, by the way, which was
Yeah.
I found that to be weird. Hate Mike Gesicki. I think he's like a crappy football player, and and they just drafted Hunter Long,
Okay.
nice tight end out of BC. So Gesicki's more of a slot receiver anyway. Um, Higbee's interesting because he's going to get some Matt Stafford now. Um, People will still remember that like 3 or 4 games at the end of 2019 that like he had
Yeah,
100
like
yards and a
yeah,
touchdown every game.
yeah, he was a stud.
I know, but I think I'm with you in this range. I'm not really reaching on anyone, but I like Irv Smith at his value, and I like Jonnu Smith a lot. Jonnu Smith got a monster deal from New England. They paid him so much money,
But they
and
also gave a monster deal to Hunter Henry too.
no. So the deal for Henry was smaller than Jonnu's. And just remember the timing. As soon as free agency broke, they signed Jonnu right away. This is at least my take. It might not mean anything. They signed Jonnu immediately. Hunter Henry kind of sat on free agency for like, I remember it was long enough where I thought, maybe the Ravens will get him. But then he went to New England like later on. The deal was still nice, but I feel like Bill has like stroked off Jonnu Smith before, like when he was on the Titans. So I have a gut feeling that Jonnu Smith's their wide receiver one.
So out of those two guys, you're taking Smith over Henry in drafts.
Yeah, even if they're I like Jonnu at 15 even more than I like Henry at 17.
Okay. And then sandwich right between them, we got Evan Ingram, who
Yeah.
is just we just never know with that guy. The guy has all the potential in the world, and Daniel Jones at quarterback, and he just puts up zeros and donuts like week in and week out. We just never know with Evan Ingram.
Yeah, he's a similar player to Irv Smith. He's like undersized, kind of plays the slot, has some speed up the sideline. He just had one touchdown last year, I think. He might have like ran one in two, I don't know. But he's so frustrating because I can't quit Evan Ingram. He's my highest owned player in Dynasty, and I just love his potential. But he's
But he
just
just he just never gets there.
yeah. I'm drafting him in best ball just because I can take a crack on him as my tight end too, and if he pops, he pops. But like in season long, I don't want to know when to play him and when not to play him. So I'm
Yeah.
off.
All right. Yeah, I don't really have any other takes on any of these other guys. Blake Jarwin, I mean, who knows with Dallas having all these, weapons at wide receiver.
He
Could
might he
could
might not
fi-
even be the tight end one.
who's the other tight end there?
Dalton Schultz. So Blake
Oh,
Jarwin,
okay.
I think, tore his ACL in week 1 last year,
Okay.
and Dalton Schultz stepped in. He didn't really like catch the world on fire, but I feel like I'm just spitballing here. I think he had like 50 catches for 500 yards and a handful of touchdowns. Um, so I'm not completely sold that coming off injury, Blake Jarwin like did a whole lot before he got hurt to really cement his immediate tight end one status, or at least not split snaps. I'm just off him.
Yeah. All right. And this last tier that we're going to talk about here in tier three of tight ends, we got Jared Cook, Austin Hooper, down to Eric Ebron, Anthony Ferkser. Who do you like here? I'm personally, I don't really know if I'm drafting anyone in this range. I mean, you might just, I think I'm just going to draft like one tight end this year if I can get one of the top guys, and then maybe just try to, fill in, like kind of like quarterback, pick someone up during a bye week or something like that. But I do see a name there, Zach Ertz. I know he's not the main guy there in Philly anymore, but I mean, he was tight end one like 2 years ago. So I don't know exactly what happened there.
Yeah, yeah, he's been a not bad player, within the past 3 or 4 years, but there's just too much unknown. They've been talking about giving Goddard like a big extension, so I think they're just completely off Ertz.
Okay.
I think they want to trade him, but they can't really get anything. That's my vibe. Is like they're not really getting anything in return for him because he
Yeah.
has like $10 million salary this year. Um, but I'm with you. I think you treat this like quarterback. I think you try to get one of the top top end guys, and then you just don't draft a tight end too.
Yeah.
But if you don't get a top guy and you have to settle for a back end tight end one, there's two players in this tier that I really really like, over a lot of the people in tier two.
Please say Anthony Ferkser because I like him.
I like him too. I think he's like a deep dart throw because
Yeah,
you know Jonnu's gone, and
yeah.
Firkser kind of played good last year when Jonnu missed time.
Yeah.
No, I mean I freaking love Gerald Everett this year. So Gerald Everett is like a physical specimen that kind of had tight end two duties behind Tyler Higbee in LA for 4 years,
Yeah.
and he became a free agent. And Seattle gave him, I think they gave him like a 1 year, $9 million deal. And I was like, what the heck? That's a lot.
Doesn't Seattle have like five tight ends though? Don't they have like Jacob Hollister and all these
Yeah,
other names that we know from before?
they
Are
have.
they still on that team? I don't even know.
Put it this way, last year Greg Olson played snaps. They
Yeah.
don't have a tight end.
Okay.
Yeah, they have, yes, a few white guys that can catch. But Gerald Everett is like a really good athlete, and Russ has already been making comments, and Pete Carroll's already been making comments about how he's been like a difference maker in practice, and he's just an elite athlete, and he was kind of just. I don't know if Sean McVay didn't like him or he was a bigger Higbee fan. I don't know what's up, but for some reason I have a hunch that Gerald Everett's going to be a tight end one this year. So I'm taking him almost with confidence as if that he's going to end up working out.
Who's the other guy you like here?
Adam Troutman. Adam Troutman's a small school tight end. He played at Dayton. He hardly ever played last year because they had Jarrett Cook. But I think he caught every one of his targets except for one, and he caught a touchdown. He's a huge specimen. He's like 6'6", 260 pounds. He's like a mammoth of a man.
Okay.
He's got graded out as the best run blocking tight end in the league last year. So he's going to be on the field. And at Dayton, he was a really good pass catcher too. He just went to a small school, so he might have a bit of a learning curve, but as a sleeper on a team that could have Jameis Winston starting that doesn't have wide receivers right now, I'm taking a shot on Troutman.
Okay. Okay. All right. Before we wrap things up, do you want anyone else you want to talk about? Any other players that was on your list that might we didn't get to that you want to talk about
I'm
in
just
any position?
trying to think of some honorable mentions, like people that I'm going to have that I didn't talk about. Rashad Bateman. Um, I like Marquise Brown, but if we're talking about the Ravens for a second, is Rashad Bateman. I mean, I literally think he's like
I
Keenan
hope he's
Allen.
good. Yeah,
He's I think
I hope he's Keenan Allen.
I mean, he's like a route running technician, and he just like when you just look at him in pads, he just looks like a pro. He looks seasoned already. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't look young. He just looks like he's a 26-year-old wide receiver that's been there, done that. Like he just looks like a man. So I'm in on Bateman after seeing him put on the uniform.
All right. Anybody else? Let's give some predictions out before we head out. Who do you got this year in the NFC Championship, AFC Championship, Super Bowl, and give me an MVP prediction.
Okay. Yeah, man, you got me. I haven't really thought about this too much. We'll start with AFC, and I got to stay true to the channel. I'm going Bills Ravens, a rematch of playoff game last year. I mean, we need to give the fans what they wanted. Allen versus Lamar. I mean, I think that game was like 16-3. We can do better than that. So
Yeah.
let's do a 38-20 Ravens win in the AFC Championship to advance to the Super Bowl, and then I'm gonna have the uh, I'm gonna have the Bucks beating the Rams in the NFC Championship.
Okay. Okay.
And I'd like to
Who do you
say
Super
that
Bowl?
yeah, the NFC West, I was like looking at it. I think every team in the NFC West has a win total over 8. Like the NFC West is just beyond stacked. It's what the Rams, the Cardinals, the uh, Seahawks, and the 49ers. It's
Yeah.
like the
That's
most stacked division.
stacked division. Yeah. And Super Bowl, who you got?
Going Ravens, baby.
Ravens over the Bucks.
Yeah.
All right, MVP prediction? Anybody?
Lamar gets number 2.
Okay. All right. So I got Ravens over the Chiefs in the AFC. NFC, I don't know. I could see Bucks Packers again. I could also see Bucks Rams, like you said. I think Packers are going to possibly do it this year. I think this is Aaron's last year in Green Bay, so I think he's going to walk out winning the NFC. I got Ravens over the Packers in the Super Bowl. Obviously, we're biased, so maybe that's probably not going to happen in reality. MVP. I don't know. I got a dart throw in Joe Burrow, but I can't see. Patrick Mahomes is just such a stud. Like I just if he has another season like that, I think he's just going to win another MVP. But yeah, those are my predictions. Anything else before we head out here?
Nah,
You got
man,
anything else?
I just like to thank you and
Yeah,
thank the channel. I mean, this is my first ever podcast I've
yeah.
ever done. So thank
Hopefully during the season we can make this a weekly thing. Maybe like talk about the week recaps and stuff like that. Once again, if you like what you saw here, obviously if you stuck with us for a couple hours while we yapped about fantasy football, I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, reach us out on Twitter. We gave our Twitters out earlier. And yeah, I hope you guys crush your drafts unless you're in a league with me. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about any player whatsoever, just reach out to me or Chris on Twitter at Riku Mukherjee for me. Give your Twitter out one more time, Chris.
at C Caldwell 45.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up now. Obviously, if any news changes, maybe we'll do another show before closer to the season. If some news changes and stuff like that, we'll see. But thanks to Mike behind the camera, and we will see you guys next time.